All right, let's go ahead and get going here. I thought Ari was going to come on with me tonight and talk about her. I thought Ari was going to come on and talk about all the her trip home because she wasn't very happy about it. But so I was talking to Deanna's been updating the website. I was just fixing to tell them about your updating our website today. I was going to drop that link. I didn't get a hold of Miss Blue Moon.
My
either.
internet
I don't know what's going on with her. Your internet's in green, mine's in the yellow. So yours is better than mine. You got no sound?
Yeah, no fucking shit.
I can hear you.
Oh, man, my internet is poop. Poop be doo
It's
doo.
really good. You're showing good.
Look good?
Oh, we lost her already. Wow, that's quick. Anyway, she's trying to get the website updated. She got way more stuff to put on there. There's a bunch of keychains and stuff that are really cool. I don't know if anybody wants any of them or not. They're pretty cool. Yep. She didn't know we could hear her while she was over there cussing her internet. Bob Saget dead at 65. Good grief. There's Deanna again. All right, how about now, sister? Can you hear us now?
Yeah, I hear you, but
Your signal's green.
Everything's glitchy.
Huh.
I like froze.
No, you're not froze on this end.
I can't see you yet. It's all pink. I still
Wow.
look like I'm in the box on the side.
Huh, I can see you perfectly. It's crazy.
Now
I'll
I'm
show you.
getting on there. Come on, body, catch up.
Yeah, this is what I get.
I know I'm there somewhere. There I am. Weird. Weird. How
Yeah.
are you?
There you go.
How you doing, friend? Good to see you.
She-
Oh, that
Oh,
again.
there's Miss Blue Moon. Okay.
That's like
Yeah, see
that's like
you
this
were
one.
moving. And,
He's old, tired, and grouchy. Oh, come
yeah,
here. Come here. Say hello. I'm old, tired, and grouchy too.
poor puppy dog.
This is the dachshund. He's an a-hole all the
Is
way.
he?
But he's my husband's best friend.
Most of your little dogs are the
Excuse-
aggressive ones.
Oh, he's the worst. He's the worst.
See, I was just telling them that you were in there updating the website and the store and stuff.
Oh, I didn't do any of it. I was trying
okay.
to, but none of it
Okay.
happened. None of
that's
it
all right.
happened. But I can do it because I thought Arian was coming on and I was going to do it for you.
She said she was going to take the kids and put them to bed, so I told her.
Oh, well, when she gets on, maybe I'll bounce off. And I got the pictures are ready. They're in the file. Like I was telling you, it's all those steps before I actually get to the final step. Where are you going? Where are you going? Oh yeah, he's a good one. He's a cutie. You know, they're naughty though. They got no manners. They ankle bite, they pee on everything. They're grumpy. They're attention whores. You know, they're nonstop. He's nonstop.
Yeah. Pit bulls are the worst attention whores I've ever seen.
How was your doggies? You had them for a week?
I had the one for a week. She's in there. She's in there laying in front of the heater right now.
Oh, nice. Go on, move. Where's your girlfriend? So how was your week? You went traveling. Were you at the airport with Arian?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I took her.
And
She'd
how
never
was
been
that?
she'd never flown before, so I walked her to the security. We went and got her checked in and got her checked in and got her to security. I said, "This is as far as I can go," and she's like, "No." Let me blow that up.
See my necklace?
There you go.
I gave Sarah a pretty one. I forgot to text her. I should give you her email so you could email her, but I'll send her the link. I gave her a really nice one. I gave her the green one that was a little bit bigger than this, and it shimmers that green, greenish blue. Her eyes are green like mine. Our eyes are very similar, hers and mine.
Yeah, she showed us what she had last night. Look, I just pulled you out of there. There we go.
Oh, you know what? I was missing all of that because I couldn't. My internet sucked. So I was on Hawks too, and I got booted, and I just was like one of those nights. I don't know what was going on, but very frustrating. It was like right at a good part too. It's like no, what? Spin. Come on. I've seen that with you too.
Yep.
Yeah. So how was the airport? So you guys went from where to where, and what was the deal?
We went from Lewistown to Harrisburg,
Mm-hmm.
which is about an hour and a half drive, and dropped her off at the airport. And then I came on down here, which is 5.5 hours.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, it,
Who'd she
I'm going to
fly
say
with?
I don't remember. Delta, maybe.
Those mood stones. Yeah, this one looks like those mood stones. It's kind of I got a whole
What is
bunch
the
of
mood?
them. The mood rings that would you'd put on and they would change
Oh,
colors. Don't you remember those?
mhm.
They'd say
Yep, I do.
they were mood reading.
I
Yeah.
remember the.
Hello, everybody. Michael Liebert, Tennessee Ridge K Nation, my love, Lori C, lovely, Free Belt, Free Bird. What's
We
your
have a great
name?
bunch of people.
Free, Free Belt, Free
Jane,
Rebel.
it's Free Rebel.
Sir,
Yeah.
Cynthia, Tia Leah, Jenny C, Tina P, Lori. Yeah, it's a good crowd. Come up here, ladies. What are you doing?
Yeah.
I gotta work on the website. If
Let's hear from
what's
the
that?
ladies are always too shy. The ladies are always too shy.
Oh
Let's
my
hear the ladies'
god.
perspective on
Man, we
it.
had
See,
seemed
my
like we had a
internet's shaking.
bombshell. Oh, we had sort of a bombshell of news. One of the longest running board of supervisors is not going to be running for reelection. She just announced Friday, which was kind of a little surprise. Bob Saget died, or Bob Seeger, but he meant Bob
Saget.
Seeger.
Bob
Bob
Saget.
Seeger died. Oh, it was Bob Saget. Oh yeah, there is a Bob Saget. That's right. What did he sing? I can't remember what his music was. Was he
Bob
country?
Saget was the funniest videos guy for a while, wasn't he? Oh, and he
Oh,
was
really?
on what was it? I'll have to look.
You're not a
I can't
lady.
remember what show he was on.
You're not a lady. Different parts.
Yeah, he was a
You
stand-up
don't remember
comedian
the
that did
show.
Full House or something. Yep.
Yeah, okay, and he did do America's Funniest Videos too. Oh, I still didn't mail Sarah.
Yeah, he did do that Full House, and
I liked we watched Funniest Home Videos all the time with the kids. It was one of the best things on TV. It was great. It was a
yeah.
great show.
We had 18 inches of snow, and then it rained, and it's just a mud hole out there because
Yeah.
it rained. It rained all day today. Yeah.
How's everybody? Are they healthy where you're at?
Oh yeah.
Good.
Yep. Everybody's good. uh,
What's going on?
Mike just sent me a message. He said, "What the heck are you doing? It's
I
quiet."
knew it was Mike. I knew it was Mike. I was like, I'll bet that's Mike. I bet that's Mike
Oh yeah.
lurking and sending some, stupid text message right now. I just knew it with these brothers. I could just tell.
He usually throws
It's
funnies
me.
at me, and it's hard not to say some of the stuff that he sends because it is
I
hilarious.
know he's naughty. I know he is. He's just troublemaker. Super troublemaker.
Oh.
Hello, Edna, Rex, Larry, Cynthia. Found in his hotel room. Found in his hotel room.
Who was found in this motel room?
He didn't drop the
I
link.
missed
He emailed it. He's
Oh,
emailing the link.
oh yeah, I emailed it. I'm emailing it again.
It's for the ladies
There we
only.
go. Well, we're shooting for ladies. We want more ladies to come up.
We're shooting for the pretty ladies. No, just kidding. You can be homely. We don't care. I'm on here. No makeup, no mascara. I do got eyelashes. I do. They're there somewhere. Oh gosh. Gotta watch what you look like. Don't want to look like a crazy person. Family member been upset, crying. I'll be okay. Maybe Jeff B will hop in. Seeing him will make my day better. Will it? Jeff B?
Send the link too. So okay, I emailed one. Now, guys, try to let them up for a little bit. There we
Oh,
go.
Bob Spigot was found dead in his hotel. Oh, I'm sorry. That was a bad joke then. I thought you were talking about Travis found in his hotel room. I'm off tonight. I shouldn't even be on this panel. I'm on like 4. I think I went to bed at 4. I got up at 9. I went to church. It was great. Do you know that my church is the only place in my whole town of Arcata I can go without a face diaper? Well, nobody wears one there anyway.
Really? How are you ladies tonight? Nope.
Can you hear me, Travis?
Can't hear you. I can hear you.
5
I
by
can
5.
hear you. 5 by 5.
Good evening.
Excellent.
Tia Leah, how are
Can
you?
hear you. I gotta
Can
turn
we hear
the
you?
volume up.
I don't know. Can you hear me now?
I hear you now.
Okay,
hear
I'm
you.
doing good. How
Yeah.
y'all doing?
We're great.
We're good.
Well, that's good. That's real good.
It's on your mind, ladies.
Yeah.
What do you have? What do you want to talk about?
Oh, honey, I
We'll
could go
talk about
anywhere. I could talk about
No
anything.
doubt.
Well, did you hear Washington's got what do they call them? Camps for the unvaccinated to 5 years old and up?
State of Washington on the
Washington
West
State?
Coast?
Yes. State, yes.
I've heard rumors of that yet. I didn't dig into any of that yet, but I think Silvergirl was actually telling us a little bit of that last night.
Well, it hasn't passed the state legislature yet, but they're working on it.
It's a bill then?
Yes.
Well, there's also a horrendous
How can
bill
they
that New
even-
York had up for the same thing, right? Last
Yeah.
week. Yeah.
Yeah.
New York. So it'll be here in California. I'm in Northern California, so
Well, just the one in New York actually was rescinded. I don't know if you saw that.
no.
I didn't.
I mean, the
So
bill
it was
never
on-
passed. Did it?
Well, it was
didn't?
on the books since. Am I too loud? I can't. It seems so loud.
Mm-mm.
No, you're good.
It was on the books. So it was initially introduced in 2015, I believe, and it was in the context of the Ebola virus originally, and it was never voted on. It was never brought to the floor, but it was proposed back then. And
I
what
read it
happened?
too. Yep.
Yeah, it stayed on the books every year, so it's kind of like auto renewed, and it would be
Mhm.
re-proposed like every January, but never voted on. And fortunately, this year everybody was paying attention, and there was so much public outcry that the state legislator who introduced it, he actually pulled it this year. So because he got so many calls because people were talking about it, rightfully so. So in New York, at least, I think the Washington thing is new, but in New York, it was the proposal was pulled and the bill was pulled, and it's not going to be voted on.
Good.
So,
Good.
Well, I can tell you some Humboldt news that did happen with, oh, hello, Savannah. Is that Savannah?
Hello.
Travis, move yourself out of the restream thing because you're live and you could put a photo in that spot, honey. Would you
I
move
don't know if
yourself
it'll let me
down?
move it. Some days
Yeah.
it'll let me move it, some days it
Just
won't.
move your, there you go. There.
Yeah.
How are you, Savannah? Now I
I'm
can't see your
good. I've got
picture. Sorry.
I've got maybe some good news. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Sure.
Okay. This just came out of Germany this week. Somebody at the University of London did a research on what they're finding is that the pharmaceutical companies are doing different things in different batches of the V.
Mm-hmm.
So there's different formulas in different batches. They're doing an
see.
experiment within an experiment.
Mm.
And it's been discovered.
Wow.
Rainer Fulmich, which is the German lawyer, has the information. He believes that this is enough to take the whole pharmaceutical companies down. All the profits that they made will be removed because they're going to have to do payouts. They've been lying to everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. I hadn't heard that one.
Yeah, what is it? There's a website they have to keep all their information accurate on, and they haven't done that. Which, if what I've read is
the
true,
VAERS database.
means that
The VAERS
can't be
database, and that's with the University of London, the guy who did it. I can spell his last name for you. You can Google him, and his whole thing is on, I would do DuckDuckGo. But his name is Greg, and his last name is spelled P as in Peter, AARDEKOPPER. And his whole research is right there. He takes the VAERS database, their batch numbers, and then somehow they calculate the toxicity of the batches. And the high toxicity, where everybody has died of certain things and the length of time it took them to die. And then another toxicity level on, they're calculating how long it takes people to die and what they're dying from.
Oh my gosh.
You can remove that comment, Frog, or we can remove it for you. You can't leave shit like that in this chat. Okay. I'm gonna take it out, or you can delete it right now. You can't, we get accused of being
Hopefully, Miss Blue Moon will be on it. I just thought.
Now,
being
what they're also
kinetic.
doing,
I don't
they're
have a
also
wrench.
doing is a lot of these are salines, where they get a baseline. So they go ahead and give a certain amount of people saline, and it's like 1 out of 200 is what he says. 1 out of 200 is this level of toxicity that would do harm to somebody.
You want to? I got a video on that from that German lady. Actually, it's on BitChute.
Yes, I have that too.
And it's
That's
only
from
like 5 minutes long. And you know what the number is in the middle? That's the saline, right?
Yeah.
What is it?
I have the one that's
It's
20
number
minutes
one.
long.
If you have a number one in the middle of your card, you most likely got saline.
That's saline if you have a number 2. Now, my mom has had all 3 boosters, so I asked her to tell me what her batch numbers were.
Mm-hmm.
And
Wow.
she got one that is a high level toxins, and her cancer has been in remission. She's 88 years old.
Shit.
So
Sorry.
I know. There's nothing I can do. There's
God,
absolutely
turn it into water, please, Jesus. Turn it into water.
She she knows she's got to go back for her checkup to make sure that everything's fine, and that they're going to do a immune, check her immunity. There's another guy out there from Germany too, that's the metal examiner, that is finding that these people that have died, it's a lot of it's in the lymph nodes, and it's deteriorating the immune system.
Hmm.
And it's all
Yeah.
coming from the V.
So it's fast
I
acting.
watched an interview.
Don't know. I don't know.
Go
Well,
ahead.
if you go ahead and look at the number of days that it took for somebody to die after they received the vaccine, it ranges. It's all ages too. It's not just for senior citizens it's this, or for 50 years old it's this, or for young people it's this. It's going to be across the board as far as your age is concerned, and how it is deteriorating your immune system. Is it through the lymph nodes? It's destroying the lymph nodes, and you need that for your immune system.
A lot of people are dying unexpectedly and suddenly, even in my community, in their sleep. I don't know what the frick is taking so long.
I know
honestly
that bugs me
don't-
too, because
cannot compute.
Gert Bosch, who's the biologist in Belgium, said back in February of 2021 that this was going to happen. And a lot of them have been speaking out. A lot of them. They just all keep getting shut down. But
Well,
it's happening.
what I can tell you is
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, I know a lot
Go
of you
ahead,
saw
John.
the reports about the reporting. The Food and Drug Administration, they wanted 55 years to release the data on the Pfizer jab. I'm sure you guys are familiar with that. And there's a case in Texas. A federal judge has denied this judicial rule and tried to overturn it, trying to get the release of those records expedited, like within 6 months. So I know we're all kind of anxiously awaiting the SCOTUS decision on the mandate.
That's
But
tomorrow.
like I said, on Friday when I was on your show, Travis, it's just the beginning of the lawsuits, because this judge is responding to a lawsuit about the release of those records. So again, this is another whole series of lawsuits that are probably going to go up to the Supreme Court, because you're going to have different district judges ruling on that, and there's going to have to be some clarity on the release of those records. So
I think they're changing the formula without going through the FDA. They're submitting one formula to the FDA, and then they're changing it midstream. That's what I think is happening. At least this is what Reiner Fullmich thinks is happening. And he's got documentation now proving, because there's different levels of toxicity in different batches. He's got the proof now. He can take them down.
Yeah, and I don't know about that. I don't know. You probably looked into it more. It's certainly possible that there's different formulations for batches going to different countries. That wouldn't surprise me, just because of different regulatory standards.
Are they allowed
whatever.
to do that without going through the FDA on their? I can see them adjusting the formula, but I would think it would have to be approved through the FDA on the new formula.
Well, I think every public health is regulated, in every country by whatever standards they've set for their countries. So it is. I don't know for sure, but it might be. It's a possibility. You'd have to ask somebody who is familiar. Is he in Germany?
Yes, but what they've done is they've taken the VAERS report that's in the U.S. The VAERS report is U.S.
Right,
and they're taking the different batches that have been submitted throughout the U.S. The 1 in 200, every one out of 200, that's U.S. That's through the United States of America.
It's standard
What's up, Sarah?
to have placebo. So the the issue I have with it is that, you know, if it's experimental, I really don't want to get Travis in trouble talking about this, but you know, it's the whole issue. The issue for me is that people are taking something um it, it's that they're agreeing to be in an experiment, and they're not realizing that that's what's going on. um you know, so I would love to get the batch that's just saline, but if
I
you're
know,
in an
me too.
experiment, you're not informed about that. You're taking your chance. So
Mhm.
you know, I don't know if that's what you mean by different batches.
Hey, can
I
we invite our new guest, please, in for
I
a
just want
second?
to say, I want to say, I don't really know the whole conversation, but I'm hearing it's about the vacation. And I agree because working in the healthcare field, I am almost 100% certain that there's a lot of people that just got saline. And that was by choice based on who you know, right? Where you work and who you know, like-minded individuals. Because yeah,
I
too
mean, I have
bad.
But
They
friends.
just
are
got
they allowed to put, are they allowed to put so much toxins that they know they're going to do harm to somebody? That's the whole thing.
Well,
Of
I mean,
course
they're
they
not
are.
allowed to do something knowingly, but it's a fine line because, you know, with any jab, right? The way they get out of it is there's risks and benefits, you know, and you know every jab you get, you know, even if it's for something, you know, that's pretty standard, like smallpox or, you know, the immunizations that kids get to go to school, there's always risks and benefits, and that's legally the way to get out
Well,
of it. Now they can't
Reiner
to
was,
do it knowingly. Then you're alleging, if that's what's happening, then what he's alleging is something criminal, and
yes,
to
yes,
prove
Reiner
that,
is alleging something criminal,
and
and he
and
feels like
this.
he has the proof to prove it.
Right. It's a very high standard to prove that, because what you need to prove is that there's criminal intent. So
Yeah,
that's
you
a,
have
it's
to
Yes,
gonna
show
be a high
studies.
standard.
they were
You have to have
discussing
proof
that
of studies
Yeah.
that are
Yeah.
showing
because
that there was damages and we just kind of brushed it under the rug. You know what I
And
mean?
yes, yes,
You
and
have to
once
have
all
yes.
them,
evidence like that to prove a
and
It's
criminal.
he's
on
gonna have to go
BitChute. I
through.
wish everybody would go ahead and watch it. It's Reiner's Fulmich is the name. Reiner Fulmich, Fuellmer. And you need to watch it, that particular discussion that he's having with the attorneys, because he has like about 1,000 attorneys underneath him. They're all discussing it.
Well, it's going to be complex litigation because it's going to involve. You're going to have injured parties, or you're going to have standing in the different countries you're suing in. So it's not going to be a simple lawsuit.
No, I
You're going to have
agree.
to
I
file in
agree.
every country. You're going to have the right plaintiff. You know what I mean? So
But I like the
yeah.
fact that he's got different countries, different attorneys in different countries all involved. So,
Mhm.
you know, and I know how they operate differently in each country, but you still can go after the same people, the same corporations involved. And sooner or later you're going to get a hit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just, when you were saying about can they knowingly, you know, change the formulas or have different formulas, um, you know, when you
To the
say like
level of
can they knowingly
technoxity
use,
that they know that they're doing harm to somebody.
well, yeah, and again, they're going to say any shot you take has risks, you know, has risks. That's
Yeah, but you can't go out and intentionally hurt somebody if you know that
I'm
it's going
not.
to.
Well, what
Look,
if you're not? What if you?
I'm not disagreeing with you. What I'm saying is it's a very high burden of
Bar.
proof to prove that.
I agree. I agree
Right.
with you
Yeah.
there. I don't disagree with you there. But I think the way that they're going about it, having, you know, several different attorneys from several different countries suing the same person over and over again, or same corporation over and over again, I think you're going to get a bite.
Well, yeah,
Somewhere
because
down the
like
road, you're going to
a
get a
company
bite.
like Pfizer has to be, it has to be licensed to do. It has to, you know, go through like the the steps to do business in all these different countries. So it's that's the proper way to do it. You're going to sue them everywhere. It's like that's the first thing they teach in law school: sue everyone. Something's going to stick. That's absolutely true.
You can't sue the manufacturers of vaccines. That's the big thing here, right? Congress.
No, you can if they are forging something. If they're illegal, if they're doing some illegal activity, you can.
That's the thing, though. You have to prove that in a court of law. You have to get a judge like, yes, you have sufficient evidence to prove that, which is very difficult, especially when we're looking at like the corporations that we're talking about and the elite and everything. It's a very hard thing to prove.
If you've ever tried to sue a doctor or a lawyer for malpractice, it's very difficult to get doctors to testify against one another. Yep. You're going to run up with the same thing with pharmaceutical companies. For all the lawyers that this gentleman has, Pfizer has hundreds of its own that have thought about this. They've exempted themselves. Yeah. So I agree. You can't doing something knowingly. That's like, that's a very serious charge, and it's a very high burden of proof. They're going to say you have a certain number of injuries with any shot, any medical treatment, and I think there are going to be a lot of lawsuits about informed consent. If you go into your 19-year-old goes into Walmart and gets a shot, have they really given informed consent? Those are kinds of, and they get injured. Those are the kinds of cases you're going to see as well. So I've seen his videos and things. It's
that's why they get you to sign, though. See, when you put your signature on those little forms, when you get a vaccine, you're not getting the insert information. You're not getting the ingredients. You're not getting every single side effect, even death as being a side effect, which is a risk in any vaccination. I used to get vaccinations. But what you're given is a vaccine insert sheet. And you know what I mean? It's a one size fits all for everybody.
Watch that word, friend. Watch that word.
Sorry.
You don't want to be given that information and advice.
It gives you an insert sheet of the patient, and then it tells you pretty much the lame shit, right? May get redness at the site, may have a slight fever, may be tired, things like that. That's it. It doesn't inform you of everything. It really does not. So you honestly have to educate yourself, because say you were injured, they're not going to help you with your bills. You're injured. Everybody's going to call you crazy, like they're calling everybody crazy right now. All these, I was just looking at this site, just as of today, it's like over 1 million, almost 2 million people. That's a lot of people, and all those people are being censored. So the burden of proof, it's hard to prove it, right? And even the physicians are calling you nuts.
Yeah, and the best way to protect yourself from, if you truly believe that they're doing it, I'm walking a fine line here, because I don't want to get Travis in trouble, and I'm not a medical expert, and this is not medical advice or even a medical opinion.
Well, try not to keep saying that word, medical. That's what they're looking for.
So, this is just me. The best way to protect yourself from somebody you think is doing something intentionally, is to give you the maximum amount of choice. And that's why the mandates are such a problem. There are a lot of reasons why they're a problem. But if if your choice is to work, if you're said, look, you got to get a shot so that you can work, are you able to really make an informed decision?
That's coercion also.
Yeah,
that's absolutely unlawful. And I would say lawyers are not going to save us here. It's we the people is the only thing that's going to save us here. And it's not just the hospitals and the medical industry. It's the schools, it's the county jobs, the federal jobs, state jobs, the airports. It's all a mess. They're all sellouts. They're all taking money and kickbacks to keep us abused and the kids abused. And I don't understand how Americans keep taking it.
Because there's not
honestly
enough
don't.
people that know their rights.
No, they don't. They don't
And
think we
people
have
are
any
run
rights.
by
They think we have
fear.
to count on lawyers. We don't have to count on lawyers. Can you read? We can read. We can figure it out. We've been getting taught on this channel and other channels by D-Dog and Affidavit Mamas and Sheriff Mack. It's in our hand. It's notices, affidavits, and claims. It's very simple. It's not that hard to do. And then we show up at a hospital where they're cruelly keeping a husband and a wife or a mother and a daughter or someone apart and a drove of people and say, stop abusing our community. That's how you
Kidnapping is
do it.
what that is. When you can't have a visitor with you, a support person with you in situations like that. Yeah, it's a fine line of kidnapping.
We've been putting up with serious abuse here. I talked to Miss Blue Moon in Oklahoma. She gets her treatment. She was never coerced to take the thing or a test or anything. She gets treated with dignity and respect. You come to Humboldt County, California, it's like fucking China here. Okay? Wake up. I'm not exaggerating. You will not get treated in the hospital without taking the vaccine or the up your nosy. Okay, I'm surprised they didn't do the up the ass one because people would have started that letting them do it too. I mean,
Would be
honest to
sure.
God, people, I don't understand how much people can put up with. I'm absolutely, obviously, I've been done since March 2020. They kept me from my daughter. They kept my sister from my mother, who could have been dying. She was in ICU 2 times. I've been unhinged since March 2020. Not playing,
Well,
done.
it's especially frightening for parents because I have two of my kids are over 18. They're adults, and I still worry about it. Doesn't mean I don't worry about them.
Sure.
Doesn't mean I don't care. That's for sure. But I have one who's under 18, and the hospitals here in the past couple weeks have instituted no visitor policies.
Where are you
no
at?
visitor. I'm in Connecticut. So
yeah,
it's
like
like
that
the
here
big
too.
hospitals. I live right near the belly of the beast, Yale Hospital.
Oh,
Okay.
God.
Check out their website and who's on their website, and it'll tell you what I'm up against here. China is putting it mildly. It's anyway.
NWO there.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
I believe it.
But so, I, as a parent, I worry, what if my daughter has an accident and she needs, well, at school or something, they're going to take her there and you're going to tell me I can't see my, you know what I mean? She drives, she's a new driver. We have icy roads. This, as a parent, these are the things, it's normal to worry about these things, and they're completely usurping your parental rights.
I am scared.
Not to mention your human rights. I mean, I'm not married, but if I had a spouse or, extended family here, I would be worried about the exact same thing.
You know what, Sarah, I was going to show them, and Travis can share it on the screen. My kids are adults. They're 23 and 25. I'm not worried about any underage kids, but my daughter was in a psychosis state. Okay. She was in restraints, and I had a fucking nurse come in and agitate her on purpose and then tell me she was going to give her a shot. Okay. This is how insane this shit is. You people that you can't even imagine. The document I have from Humboldt County is what our board of supervisors has done, and Sarah's born and raised Humboldt County girl right there. That's a Humboldt honey right there, y'all. They took away the mental health. How many people can have, what's that called when you have the rights for somebody else?
Power of attorney?
No, it's the other one. It's oh my gosh, brain farting. It's their mental. I'm gonna look it up. Talk about something else, because I'm gonna look it up and show you what they did. It's an old law. It's constitutional that the mental ill from since World War II. We could not. It's not Nuremberg Code, but it's along the same principles. Constitutionally, the mentally disabled, it's not to be in the hands of the government, right? And that's what they did here in Humboldt County. by
Well,
taking that away. They waived it here. I'll get the document up and show you. It is absolutely frightening, and that's probably what they did in Connecticut too on day 16.
that's what freaks me out about my daughter who just turned 12. And in our state in California, once this is before the pandemic and everything, once a child turns 12, the parents, and this might be everywhere else too, but the parents lose access to their health records.
Yes,
Yeah,
we-
my
Go ahead,
youngest
sorry.
daughter is 12 and she has Down syndrome. And so she is cognitively unable to make decisions and make informed consent. She is also communication deficit. So even if somebody were to like speak to her something, her reciprocal language is very deficit. So I'm afraid when I send her to school, knowing that she has a right to go without any of the mandated protocols going on based on the law for disabled people. I'm afraid that one of these days I'm going to send her to school, and just like what happened in Los Angeles, they're going to do implied consent, where because I sent her to school, whether she's cognitively able to decide or not, or give, an okay and understand it, that they're going to do that. That's a big fear for me.
I have a friend, and you want to talk about a red pill. So they are lifelong Democrats, okay? I've been friends with them for 20 years, okay? But, they're more independent. But anyway, we never really talked about politics until recently. Well, in the last election, they said that they will never vote Democrat again as long as they live, okay? And these are people who raise money for he's a doctor. She was a very specialized nurse. So our kids go to school together. Well, anyway, something routine came up. It was just a routine health thing that they went to the doctor for, like, I don't know, something like maybe a sinus infection or whatever. And she called because they were going to go they referred her to see some specialist, whatever. She couldn't get the records, her daughter's records. Her daughter's, once you hit 13 in Connecticut, the patient, the child, had to sign a release for her mother to get her records. She's 13 years old.
It's because of this birth control and stuff. So kids don't feel uncomfortable to get birth control or have an abortion and all those things. I know that's why they passed that law like years ago here, which I think is absurd. But I still don't feel like that should be applicable in a school setting. Like, these people, they don't have an MD after their name. They're not qualified to give any advice as far as how to wear a medical device, or that you should do your part and get a vacation, because that's what general education teachers are saying here. They haven't said it in a while, because I called all the schools administrators and said that I'm filing a complaint because they're giving unqualified advice and opinion. But that's what they're doing in our schools. And I just found out last week that the money that they accepted, right? All these billions of dollars went out to all the public schools all over the country. And because the schools accepted that money, they have to adhere to, it's like a contract deal. So they have to say, hey, get vacation. They have to do mandatory testing. They have to do the universal diapering of the faces. So, and it's sick. So the only way that they can not oblige and not comply would be to give that money back. How many of them do you think are going to give that money back?
None of them.
Well, and not only are the public schools taking this money, like the COVID money, the private schools are too. Catholic schools.
I know,
okay?
it's a shame. It's a shame.
I bankrupt myself to keep my daughter, let her finish up in Catholic school where she is, like her sister's dead, and they're taking money. So every time Dr. Fauci says do this, or a Democrat governor says do this, they not only do they jump, they ask how high, and they, if anything, over comply with this stuff. And we talked about getting the medical records. They're also pushing to have in school health clinics.
And they shouldn't, because they're not qualified. They don't have healthcare professionals there. I know that for a fact, because I I have IEP meetings with anybody who has a disabled child knows what an IEP is. So your kid has extra rights because they have a right to, all kids have a right to free, appropriate public education. But if you have a disability, they cannot exclude you based on vacation status alone or whether you can wear a medical device alone. It's against the law. And so I've been able, thank God, to have my daughter in school the whole time without having to comply with any of these things. But the simple fact that they're accepting that money and there's not any parents really there's power in numbers. There's no parents going before them and demanding or pulling their kids out of the school, because even doing the distance learning and the independent study, that gives that district money. Even when you go on a quarantine, they get money for that because they code it just like a doctor's office does. They code it for a billing code because they made a new one because of this stuff going on. And if you're just enrolled in their school districts, it's going to continue. And that's what sucks, because so many kids are losing out and missing out and suffering because their parents, a lot of them might feel like against it, but they're not standing up. People need to get together and really like attack these school districts and really take their kids out. Keep your word. Don't just talk it, do it. Because you got to hit them where it hurts, right? They're not going to get any money if they don't have students filling those seats.
Well, we found out about the COVID money in my daughter's religious school. No one ever told us that. We found out, through the back door, because we were getting bombarded with emails every other day. Has your child gotten their COVID shot? Have they, there's a clinic here, this other school's having a clinic. And I finally sent an email saying, we have a doctor. We have a doctor. We make our decisions as a family. And I got a really nasty response from a Catholic school. Well, we found out it kind of by following what they were doing and how we were tracking what they were doing, the COVID protocols. My friend figured it out, and she did the homework, and she found out that they were getting money. It's always follow the money. So, my comment, now the parents are they're getting tired, right? And they're saying, why am I paying private school tuition to be in a public school? So that's the fight we're having. But in the public schools, again, there's so many people, it's taken so long for them to wake up that the reason in our blue state, especially, that this is happening is because our pension funds are bankrupt. And there was just a report in the Connecticut Press today, finally 2 years into this, that what they're doing, no one can get testing kits. Now, I don't want to get tested. Okay. I don't want any of that stuff. I don't want an N95 mask. I don't want it, need it. And I'm certainly not going to stand in line in the sub-zero cold to get any of it. Right. But people are having troubles. People need a test to go back to work, or whatever. They have their reasons, or they have someone who's sick, or they have someone elderly at home and they want this. No one can get them. And everyone's asking, where did the COVID money come from? Or where did it go? Why aren't the towns getting what they were promised? It's all gone to bail out the pension fund here. Now, who could have predicted that? Oh, me. I was saying this, in April 2020. Yeah. That's what they're going to do. And I guarantee it's happening in Illinois. I guarantee it's probably happening in California. Any blue state that is in the red with their pensions, that's why they're dragging out this emergency.
Oh, they just brought the National Guard where we are, which is so insane. But
yeah, I mean, for what? Well, they fired.
Exactly. Because there's a rise in cases. But guess what? Where we live, 63% of the cases this past week were of the vacation people.
Well, you're in healthcare. Tell me this isn't completely insane. Completely. Now, we all remember what happened with Andrew Cuomo in the nursing homes, right?
Oh, same thing here in California with our governor Newsom.
And our governor did it too, although he flies under the radar screen because we're kind of a nothing. I don't want to say a nothing state. We're a dangerous state for other reasons, but we're not as important or big as New York, right? We're kind of a suburb of New York. So after all the talk about what he did and Tom Wolf did in Pennsylvania and Whitmer did in Michigan. We're coming up on the 2-year anniversary of the shutdown, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just yesterday, in the past 2 days, I can't remember which day exactly, our governor has issued a request to the long-term care facilities in our state to start accepting COVID positive patients. Now tell me that that's not Groundhog Day. Number two, the epitome of insanity. And if we have a virus that is so deadly, right? People are supposed to be dropping like flies, overwhelming the system. You're inviting it into a long-term care facility with people who are, among the most vulnerable.
Well, especially after the Andrew Cuomo.
Oh, they need those death rates to go up. They need them to go up because right now they're kind of sinking, and they need to keep it an emergency. Remember, it has to stay an emergency.
And it's taken almost 24 months for, the opposition, quote unquote, party, the GOP in my state, to wake up and start calling him on this in the press. He's gotten away with it for almost 2 years. And finally, someone, the likely person who will probably run against him for governor, finally, I guess, found a microphone. I mean, the rest of us seem to be able to find microphones, but he hasn't. And he's finally, calling him out on the press. But it's taken this long. And, how many more people have to die? I'm fine. I take my vitamins. I had COVID in April 2020 when there were death tolls on the news every day. So I'm not too worried, but it's a big mess. And our state, our wonderful blue state, who the governor will tell you is run so well, is in complete meltdown over COVID right now.
I think the whole country is, actually the whole world. They would make you seem, right? I don't know. When I walk outside, it seems pretty normal, except for when I see people in their cars wearing things on their faces all by themselves, walking on the street, riding bikes, horses, surfing. I mean, come on now.
My son came home with something after New Year's, but I have the eye pill. So I gave that to him and he was fine by morning. But he came home with a headache and was sweating and
natural immunity for the win.
Yeah.
Woo-hoo.
Well,
and
she
by
gave
morning,
him an eye,
I gave
still.
him IV.
Hey, but he
The
naturally
eye pill.
got it. He didn't get
Right.
some foreign stuff put into him.
That's
to make
right.
that happen. And
That's right.
It's his innate immune system that God gave him. So there's nothing better.
With a little boost from IV, yes.
Yeah.
And I really
And
think
he was fine by morning.
Yay.
Now he
Yeah.
did try to go find a COVID test because his work wanted him to do a COVID test, and he couldn't find one.
no, well, I have one of my daughters. She would not.
I'll be
mind
back.
me
I gotta
saying
use
this.
the restroom. I'll be back later, maybe. I'm gonna
Okay.
bounce
Hi,
off.
we'll miss you.
Okay.
She not only got double jab, she got the booster. She's, first in line. Okay. She's woke. She's all on board. I think she probably has Dr. Fauci pajamas. She's all into it. Anyway,
It's not funny. I'm sad about that.
Did you send her the real Anthony Fauci book by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. for Christmas?
she would probably throw it at me if I gave it to her.
And then the United States of fear, right? That's what we have going on. What do they call it? Mass delusional psychosis. That is exactly what's going on. There is.
Did you watch the Robert Malone interview on Joe Rogan?
Too.
Yeah.
I watched it. That was
was
great.
awesome.
It was awesome because Joe Rogan, really wasn't on board at the beginning, right? Until it hit him personally, and he had to make a decision, like, how
and
am I
he
going to do this
asked
to myself?
all the right questions.
He did because he got attacked. That's why he brought Sanjay Gupta from CNN on his show, because they were all saying he's taking horse paste, and he was like on the headlines, after he got diagnosed. And then he announced that this is what I did. This is the protocol I used. And then everybody was talking mad shit. So now he's more on board because look at how the mainstream news is like putting him on blast, horse paste, and insulting him. And I love how he put Sanjay Gupta on blast.
Yeah, I do
On his
too.
show. That dude was speechless. What can he say? And then you bring on Robert Malone and Dr. McCullough
Yeah.
when they're being censored everywhere. And now Joe Rogan's hundreds of millions of viewers got the opportunity. I'm so awesome about it because now they're talking about it in mainstream news. About this mass delusional psychosis because so many, what did it break the internet? Is that what they said?
Yeah.
The internet from people searching up this term. What is this diagnosis?
Well, so
Those
my
are
daughter,
the
who's
two most valuable interviews I have ever seen with is on the Joe Rogan show with Dr. Peter McCullough and Dr. Robert Malone on Spotify. You guys got to watch it. It's very informative. And Robert Malone really goes into how corrupt the pharmaceutical companies are and that they do the trials are done by third-party vendors. And he explained how this one girl went ahead and got an injury from the V, and they instead of documenting it in the trial, they removed her from the trial. So no documentation of the injury that she received.
And
they
then
just removed her from the trial.
That little girl that had started having seizures and now she's on a feeding tube and in a wheelchair.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one.
She only had a stomach ache because on their apps to follow you in the trial, it's like a checkbox list. You can't type in, hey, this is my experience. There's no like journal logging. They give you, right, the basics. Redness at the injection site, fever, flu-like symptoms, just the basic stuff that, right, they tell you when you get any type of vacation. It's insane. And then they censor it all.
But he really explains how they go ahead and skirt around all of this crap, all of the laws, all the, how they get away with a whole bunch of stuff.
Absolutely.
He was talking about the third parties doing the trials, and then they, Pfizer would go ahead and blame it on them instead of taking responsibility for it for themselves. But I believe they can't do that anymore. They have to, Pfizer has to be responsible, even that the third party is doing the trial. And the documentation is all screwed up. The data is all screwed up, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that was so informative. I love that interview.
I know. I'm so thankful that Joe Rogan did that with him.
Yes.
It was able to reach so many people. I try to share just the link on Facebook. That's the only social media that I have.
I want him to interview Dr. Ryan Cole, which is a medical examiner, pathologist, and seeing all this crap, when he cuts open the dead bodies and what he's seeing. I would love Joe Rogan to interview him next.
Hey, maybe you should send him a message and tell him that.
I know.
He's getting all the right people on there lately. I mean, people are having the opportunity to know the truth. They're getting the opportunity to know, which is awesome. Now, whether they accept it, right? Because people are delusional. I'm seeing it everywhere, right? You see it everywhere.
I do too.
It's sad and scary at the same time. It really is.
Well, I'm at ground zero of mass psychosis. Pfizer's North American headquarters are right up the road in Connecticut. They have one of their clinical trial locations is right across the street from Yale, like right down the street. You have people lining up. My daughter, I told you, she's triple jabbed. Okay. She was getting ready to go. She was going back to school, to college, and she was getting ready to leave. And she's frantic looking for home test kits. And I'm like, you got two jabs, the booster, and she's still like obsessively testing. She go, oh, well, just to make sure. And they're all doing it. What's coming down the road, though, and you got to ask yourself, well, they don't accept the home test results for most things. If you want to visit someone in the hospital, you have to have the PCR test, which takes longer. There's a place right across from where I live. It's up the street where I got tested for COVID in April 2020. When you couldn't get a test, they had to call the state to authorize me to get a test because only like healthcare workers could get them because they didn't have any. So I had to get bumped up the list because I was so sick. Now we're in the same situation. If you go in and ask for a PCR test because you want to go visit someone at Yale or you need it for work, you can't get the PCR test anywhere.
Yeah,
It's-
So
as
you're
of
in this
December
bind.
31st, it's off the table.
It's
Right,
a
well,
case demic. It's a case demic.
revoked-
You're basing everything off cases when death rates really are going down.
So they revoked the-
Hospitalizations are going down.
Yeah, they revoked the emergency authorization for the PCR test, but they're still requiring it. So people are in a bind. People don't know what to do. They're
How is
getting
that
this
legal?
home. Right. Then they're getting the home they're lining up for the home test, which no one will really accept. So this is only like for your information only. Like, if I'm sick, unless I'm very sick and need to go to the doctor, I really don't need to be testing myself. I just stay home and do the responsible thing. But what's coming, I think, and I saw kind of, they're developing at home. See, this is a money thing, I think, because, well, I know, but it is always a money thing. But now they're developing at home flu tests. So if you are sick, you got a cold, and you want to know if it's the flu or strep throat, they're going to be coming out with over the counter home testing kits for these things. And so this is a push to get people used to testing every time they have a sniffle or a sore throat, so they can sell more of these tests. That's what's coming. In addition to shots and it's a twofer for the companies. That's what's coming. Well, so once the hysteria over the current virus winds down, and they're starting to change the narrative already. Even my governor is starting to say, well, this Omicron is really, I think this is the beginning of the end for the whatever. They can't string it out much longer, but they will be selling every manner of tests for flu, you name it. They're all coming out, and they're going to make big bucks because they've got people like my daughter hooked on testing themselves every 5 minutes, every time they get a sniffle.
Well, that's what they've been working on all these years, all these decades in those indoctrination camps we call public schools.
Right.
Getting our children to comply.
Now,
There's
after all
also-
this is over, after this COVID's over, I'm still would be leery about the flu shot. I would think that they would be doing something to the flu shot.
So
I actually
Sarah,
saw
do you
two-
have to take the flu shot for work?
No. Well, see, so I didn't work in a medical office where they are diagnosing people and putting them on medication. I did pre-employment stuff. So I'm a certified medical assistant in the clinical setting. So I'd draw blood, I would do respirator fit tests for OSHA standards for occupational purposes on nurses, on construction workers, on pesticide sprayers, you name it. So we had contracts with our county, with city employees, road maintenance workers. We do their drug screens and all their pre-employment physical stuff. Some people would have to do lift and carry tests. Some people would have to do a pulmonary function test where you got to blow really hard through a tube and then it prints out this graph on your lungs, the function of your lungs, your expiration. So that's what I did. And I've loved my job. I, however, was fired from my job, not because I'm not good at my job, but because of my decision to not participate with this all this. I did
Yeah,
the mask. I wore the mask when I had to. I even got tested twice just to show, when it comes down to it, nobody can say I'm not a good employee. It's just you got to draw the line somewhere, man, and not doing
Well, and I
it.
think, we're all on pins and needles waiting for this SCOTUS decision or on the stay for the mandates, but I think they're going to split the difference. That's my opinion. They'll
It's going to stay
probably
that way in healthcare, though. It's always
Yes.
been a requirement in healthcare. The only thing that's different now is that every product that we have available in the United States is under emergency use. So really, I mean, but it's scary because you could get the Supreme Court even that has a political bias. You know what I mean?
so
are you
that's what I
Good
yeah,
justice.
so I think what they're going to do is uphold the stay in the OSHA case, but in the other case that was argued on Friday, which had to do with hospitals, I think, or medical, it was more a medical setting. They're gonna probably dissolve the whatever. They're gonna allow the mandate to be enforced in that. So that's how they're gonna kind of like fence it. That's your favorite. That's Travis's favorite word, fence sitting. That's how they're going to split the difference, I think, with Friday, like with the 2 cases they heard on Friday. It's not good, and it still kicks the can down the road in terms of the
But hopefully
constitutionality
they
on
honor
any of it.
exemptions, because they're medical and they're also religious, and you should be able to have that right to have equal opportunity employment, right? It says that in every statement. We can't discriminate against you, but then proving it right is another thing. But it seems like a lot of people are not allowing those these days, And
Well,
so
our I was saying the last time I was on the show that our legislature has just been in hiding during COVID, and they've let our governor run the state by executive order. Okay, they've allowed it because it's
emergency.
majority Democrat, whatever. But one of the things they did get off their lazy rear ends to do was to get together last year, and I forget what month it was exactly, but to vote to remove the religious exemption for vaccines in school. Okay, so they knew this was, so it was all in preparation for this. Okay, so as soon as our governor can, he will mandate it for kids in school. That's where he's headed. Okay, and we all knew it. We all saw it.
We're already there.
Yeah, RFK
California.
Jr. He came. Del Bigtree came to. We stood on the steps of the Capitol. Yeah, they came. We invited them, and they came, and he spoke. They spoke on as the legislature was voting. Stood on the steps of the Capitol, and they gave their speeches so they could hear it right in the chamber. And I think they had to suspend voting a couple times because it was so loud outside.
He was talking about that like a month ago.
And we did our best, but they took that religious exemption away. Now, I have a problem with having to get an exemption to live my life. Okay, I mean that's philosophically, I have a problem with that. I shouldn't need an exemption to make my own decisions, but
especially
they're tightening the screws.
Citizen.
What's that?
I said, especially being an American citizen, right? We're supposed to be able to have those rights, and it's crazy that they could just take them away.
Yeah, I never need an exemption to not get a treatment. I've been to doctors for different things. I have, high blood pressure. I never need an exemption to, take or not take a particular medication or whatever. But all of a sudden,
honor your decision as a patient. That's what they're supposed.
Well, we've also changed the standard, and you, I think you'd agree with me. Everybody is sick until proven healthy now. So we flipped this. Okay. It's like this whole, I'm always thinking it from like like how like lawyers speak, but I mean, that's really the standard now. You are sick and infected until you prove that you're healthy. And even if you do, still wear a mask, still do all these things because, you don't want to hurt the feeling. You want everybody to feel safe. That's where we are.
It's not my, I tell people this too, and I don't care if I sound cruel because I believe in Jesus, and he gave me a heart to love my neighbor, hopefully as myself. I got to work on a lot of things, but that he needs to work on in me. Yeah, I need to allow him to, but it's not my responsibility to make you feel safe or your child feel safe. It's my responsibility to take care of me and to take care of my children. I got into it with this woman the other day who was talking bad about the post office. First off, they're a federal building, so they kind of have to honor. They can't ask you. I can't go to them and say, "Do you have herpes? Are you gay?" I can't do that, right? It's uncalled for. But you can ask people now what their status is as far as if they're up to date on vacations or if they have a disability and that's why they're not wearing this medical device over their face.
Right. Prove to me that you have anxiety.
Yeah.
Prove to me that you are, I have a friend who her son is, he's an adult, but he's severely autistic. And so he has trouble with the face mask, and she got an exemption. He's in like a day program where, they do like vocational stuff or whatever. And she got an exemption so he could just wear a face shield. But again, she's got to prove that this kid's
You
having
shouldn't
a
even
tough
have to
time
wear
with this
that.
stuff.
You shouldn't have to.
Right.
I know they did the same thing to me. And I thought by law, if this school, and it's not even a law, right? They're saying my child has to wear this over their face. And I said, well, then why don't I need a referral from you to a physician that can clear her for tolerance or not clear her. And they told me no. And so I ended up having to take her to the doctor because they actually excluded her from school. But I did that for a living. These little surgical masks and cloth face coverings, and they don't work.
And your normal
if
impulses.
if I did a test on you to make sure that you could go to work and wear that respirator, these surgical paper masks and the cloth ones, you would be coughing and test over, fail. The only thing you'd be good enough maybe is a half mask at NIOSH P100 with the filters, or an N95, and make sure that it fits you properly. Because that's what I did. Fit tests on people. Make sure that, hey, when I'm bombing you out with this smoke that's like pepper and you can't cheat the test, if you cough, over with. If you don't cough and you can talk and do all these things while you're wearing it, then you're okay. And so
I would have loved for the
that they don't do that.
I would have loved for one of the lawyers to, during the Supreme Court arguments on Friday, to have brought this issue up, because, and this goes to the question, Rex's question, and I asked Travis to put it up because I want to respond to it. This whole idea about what's actually being, he's asking, can the court rule on a mandate? Let me just address that, and then I want to get back to the N95 mask. So what the court is ruling on is an emergency temporary standard implemented by OSHA. Okay, so it's technically not a mandate. And we use that, in the press and in the way we talk about things and the way that things have been presented to us by our governors. Mandate has just become this word that it's just become like, part of, like common thing that we talk about. But the case is not about a mandate. It is about an emergency temporary standard for OSHA, requiring this in workplaces. So they're not ruling on a mandate, and it's not technically a requirement that you get the jab. What it is that it's you either get the jab or you are required to mask and test. That's the quote unquote, what we're calling the mandate. Okay. Now, I think it raises all kinds of other issues, equal protection. The issue of the mask came up, but there's a lot of intricacies in the argument, but nobody really talked about the fact that it wasn't clear to me in the argument that was it going to be N95 masks that are required, cloth masks. They didn't talk about that, and it does make a difference, especially since they did refer to the fact that OSHA does require masking in certain situations, like if there's the example they used was if there's like flames coming off, like sparks coming off a machine, or different situations. But an N95 is a very fitted and specialized mask. It's not like cloth mask or the paper mask you get in CVS.
An N95 is a NIOSH 95. It filters 95% of particulates. It's like a dust mask is what an N95 is. And so if you can get a seal around your mouth, your nose, and your chin area, it should do its job and protect you. That would be more protecting in an instance like this where, we're trying to protect ourselves and others. But
are they rated for viruses or respiratory illness?
No, well, what I would do when I would do a respiratory fit test. So I've done the full face mask where you got like it's a visor right here, right, and it's suctioned around your whole face.
Mhm.
Um,
USA.
so it's like a scuba mask, kind of, or the half mask, which is NIOSH P100. That stands for National Institute of Occupational Safety. So people in certain instances would need to be tested to wear a half respirator, like if you're working with asbestos and lead, things like that. Painters, carpenters, things like that. When I would use the N95 mask, it was mainly on when I would do those respirator fit tests. It would mainly be on registered nurses, respiratory therapists, pulmonologists, people that work in the healthcare field, but also um, a couple of the other industries. You know, we would do the N95 as well. And it's crazy because while I was doing those fit tests, not necessarily in their field did they wear, you know, their respirator, but, you know, it was just an OSHA standard. They had to. So,
Yeah, and one thing that, so I think it was Amy Coney Barrett, and she brought it up because they were talking, they're getting you the finer points of this quote unquote mandate or this emergency temporary standard. The biggest issue I have is was one that she raised and Clarence Thomas raised was, well, what constitutes an emergency and when is the emergency going to end? Okay, so that's, I mean, are we talking
that's a
about
great
people
question.
wearing, are we talking about people wearing masks, whether they're N95s or whatever they are, forever on the job? Or when does this end? Okay, so that's one question they have, and they raised it right off the bat and at the end. And the other thing is, well, what makes this kind of OSHA intervention or this OSHA regulation so different? Well, you can wear a mask. Well, there's a couple of things. One is you're talking about, with the OSHA, they typically are regulating risks that are inherent to the job. So you have a machine that emits some kind of sparks. Okay, so you're going to have certain like fire prevention regulation, or there's vapors that come out of a machine or whatever, so that the risk is specific to the job site, okay, or the industry, not
Yep.
a risk that's at large in the world that comes from having human contact. Very
That's exactly
different.
right.
It's a different kind of risk. The other thing is that a mask, even if we have even if you make the argument that it's some kind of grave emergency, people are dropping dead in the streets from a deadly virus, which everything that the Democrats are doing is proving that that's not the case. But okay, even if you go down that road and make the argument, a mask can be left at the door. In other words, you wear it while you're in contact at work and it comes off and you go home. Not so with a shot. That goes with you. That can't be undone. Okay, so those were the kinds of things that they talked about, and it gave me, I think, some hope that at least for the OSHA, because it's going to affect 100 million people out in the workforce. Well, I don't know if that's exactly right. 84. I've heard a couple different numbers, but it leads me to think, because those issues came up, that they probably are going to keep the stay in place for the OSHA mandate. I don't know about the other one for the healthcare workers, because it's trickier, because there's a history of like the flu, like in Connecticut, I believe if you work in a hospital, most medical facilities, I think they're required to get the flu shot already. So there's that precedent there.
It depends on where you work. Where I worked, I loved my employer. I worked for a small company, actually, so it wasn't a big corporation. And like I said, we just did pre-employment physicals and drug screens. And so my employer asked me, she said, "Do you get a flu shot?" When I first started, and I said, "Not usually." And she said, "Good, don't start." That's exactly what she said to me. And I never had to worry about any of those things until this new instance.
Right. And
I did have to show immunity for, like hepatitis B and varicella and, MMR. I had to get my blood drawn or get up to date on those things. You have to when you work in the healthcare field. But
and it's so funny because, with my governor, well, listen, our elected officials in my state are owned by big pharma because look who's here, right? The big company that begins with a P is right here, and they fund campaigns. Okay, that's the reality. So when they had the hearings on the religious exemption, and they were debating about it, come to find out that there were quite a lot of children. I don't want to say a lot, but there was a significant number of children in the schools who were not up to date on their quote unquote required immunizations, just standard things we have, okay, on the books here. And it was funny because of this, they went back and they contacted those families to get them up to date. Okay, so you're going to have now a push for the flu. It's just opened the door for all that. And we can, there's going to be a lot of debate about this specific jab. But even if by some miracle they're not able to mandate or not mandate it yet, and it's going to require more trials, they're going to be pushing the flu shot more heavily. They're going to be, I hate to use this word, but cracking down on people who are, not getting like the normal schedule of immunizations and things. They're not going to let that go anymore because all of a sudden,
and they're going to take away your personal
infected.
exemption right. That's
Everything.
Yeah,
well,
I was talking to some healthcare workers here today, and even with a medical exemption, they told one lady that she was going to get it anyway, and her doctor advised her not to.
Oh yeah, they don't care. They'll fire you. It's happened here all over. It's insane. Well, I'll tell you how a child, though. I'll tell you legally how a child can stay in school. So it is specific children. Any child that has a disability that has an IEP, and that could be for anything. You can have an IEP for a speech. You can have it for ADHD. There's 13 doors into getting that. And so what that protects you from is they cannot deny your child access to school, right, in-person learning, which may be the least restrictive environment for that child. And they have to be able to benefit from their special education, from their individualized education program. So that's how I've been able. My daughter had cancer. She's 12. She just turned 12. She was diagnosed at 3.5, had her on chemo for 2.5 years. There's a long story behind all that. I disagreed with that. But anywho, I'll never get her another one ever in her life. And it's really hard to get an exemption. Her oncologist, they gave her one while she was on chemo. And then her primary care physician told me straight up that even though I showed him a study on aluminum and neurotoxicity in the brain of children with trisomy 21, which is Down syndrome. And this was a freaking scientific study, right? I printed it out. I took it to him and he said he wasn't going to give her an exemption unless her oncologist gave her one. So I had to actually go to a different doctor and pay cash because they didn't take our insurance, and have her examined from a different doctor. And she finally got one. But I did learn, my point, sorry, I ramble. My point is that if your kid has an IEP, they cannot keep your kid from school. I don't care. They can send me. I'll never give them another doctor's note. Never, ever. They can send me all they want, letters about taking my kid to the doctor to get up to date. And I just won't respond because I'll file a complaint on them like that. And they'll lose because...
when I pulled my kids out of the public schools years ago, and I'm running up against the same issues as if I had never pulled them out. And what's happening here, and I assume probably you're in California as well, Sarah.
Yeah, I'm in California.
Mass exodus out of the schools. People are homeschooling. I just met somebody. She's starting her own alternative school for people who just want to opt out. And
somebody's doing that here too. I love that.
Unfortunately, ours, I don't know how California is, but here it's kind of ironic, and we're worried about it because the law, it's very permissive in terms of homeschooling. Okay. And because of this mass exodus and the fact that they're going to lose all the funding, every child you
Yep.
take out of the system, they lose money.
Yep.
So
The
now
box-
the next battle is going to be making sure that they do not try to start restricting homeschooling rights, because it's not looking good for them. And the schools are a cash cow for our state.
Well, I wish
So
Deanna was on here because she knows more about this, but I know that there's a group here locally where we live, and it's on the lines of a public membership, a private membership association, and they can't call it a school, but they are hiring credentialed teachers, and it's called a learning center and activity center. So, but it will be a school. They just can't call it that. And it's under a private membership association so that they can't get hassled by like the government in that aspect. And I think it's really cool. I don't know all the main details of it. I think it's brilliant. I'm so thankful that they're doing it. And if they're doing it where you are, that's a blessing too. So
yeah,
I
they're doing like pods and
it's constitutional though. You're able to do that. That's the whole point of a private membership association. They can't come in and mess with you. I'm not the one to talk to about that. I'm kind of learning myself, but I know D-Dog and Deanna, they're more familiar with those things.
well, and I think the parents, so many parents' eyes have been opened up in the past 2 years, especially. I mean, they've been ratcheting up the attack on parental rights for a while. It's been going on, but it really accelerated with COVID. And so, people's eyes are opening up, and hopefully, we've had some really good people get on school boards in our last elections, like just the off election, this past one. Grassroots people who are like us, and so they're starting to turn things around, and hopefully homeschool, we have some strong advocates in our state, and hopefully they're going to be on it, and I think they're going to have a lot of parental support if we need pushback against restrictions on that. I'm hoping, anyway. I mean, I'll be out of it. Listen, I won't have kids in the system anymore, but it's such an important issue that I'll still be involved.
Yeah.
What about our next generation?
We need you, even if your kids are outgrown. Sorry, Travis.
It's all right. One of the things that I was trying to point out a while ago was the Supreme Court was talking about 1 to 3% of the workforce was going to be would walk out of their jobs, get fired from their jobs. That's not true here. It is 30 to 40% because even the people that have had it done don't agree with it. And if you take 40%, let's do it on the low side, take 30% of the medical profession out. What are you creating? Now you're creating problem. Why won't they not recognize some of that bullshit that they were spewing back and forth the other day? I know it's all procedural crap. It all sounded pretty scripted to me, but they just sat there that, there was no real debate over it. They're
bringing in the next indoctrinated generation, Travis. Of course, they're going to let us all walk out and get fired. The firemen, the police, the doctors who we need, right? Who were heroes last year. Now, everybody who's been brought up into this school system now who believes all this bull, now they're
I'll tell you why they don't care, Travis, because they care about getting reelected, and those big pharma and other corporate interests, that's who gets them elected. That's who donates. That's who owns them. So so a bunch of nurses quit. Their attitude is, I'll just get some new ones in. And do they really care? Do they really care about the quality of healthcare in my state? I don't know, because right now it's very hard. If something happened to me, I would think twice about going to the hospital just because of all the restrictions. And I don't think they would turn you away based on vaccination status yet. But the hospitals are not doing well, even financially. People are putting off, not just and also there are a lot of people who are just scared to death. They've been scared that they're gonna catch this deadly virus. They're putting off ambulatory surgery. They're putting off procedures. They're not going to the doctor.
They're not treating people in California. They are turning you away based on your vaccination status in California and certain parts. and then wonder why people, are afraid to even go because they're criticized and from these healthcare professionals in social media or the news or whatever, even when you go to a doctor's appointment because of your views. And then now they're not treating in San Francisco. I know they're not treating people. I think there's another Bay Area city that isn't treating patients based on that, which is insane. And if you're not vacationed here in Humboldt, you can't go. And if you're the father of a child and your wife is in labor or girlfriend's in labor, you can't come to the hospital.
Yeah,
So
there were I saw some examples of that. And and Travis, to get back to your question, um I think what you were hearing when you were talking about the justices on Friday and what they were saying about the jab, and it was clear for everybody to see, and you saw it was on display how politicized the court was, right?
Yeah.
If you listen to Justice Breyer, Kagan, and Sotomayor, I said it was like listening to CNN. It was talking points. They clearly had not read the briefings. They had not. They were not. If talk about spreading misinformation, that was their job. And of course, you had the other, but in contrast to that, you had the other justices who were no, they were dealing with legal points. And granted, they can be boring, and if you don't, if you're not, you know, if you don't speak the legalese, it can be like a little bit in the weeds. But they were trying to deal with it. So I think, when you heard, it was very clear, the politicization of it. Okay, so that was the problem. So when you say, why don't they care? Either they're true believers in Dr. Fauci and they believe everything he said, or they're bought and paid for. It's one or the other. You know what I mean? Like, how can you stick to that narrative and be impartial? Doesn't seem like it. And
But
I was trying to.
It doesn't seem to me like they pulled out the numbers at near enough. The statistics, there weren't enough statistics in it for me. I'll throw you one even worse. I've got a friend in Pennsylvania, and one of his buddies' wife come down ill, and they would not treat her, period, because she was over 56. I don't know what hospital that was. I don't know the details. It could just be a bullshit story. I don't think it is. How do they refuse to help somebody in these situations?
Well, I mean, prior to COVID, it was kind of commonly accepted, right? That no matter if you could pay for it or what your situation was, you could walk into an emergency room and be treated, right? But we
Right.
didn't have that any doubt about that in this country. There have been times, when I got divorced, there was a period of time I didn't have health insurance, and I worried about it. And people said, just go in if you have to. You'll figure it out. They had to treat you, right? Like that's what we all expected. And now somehow suddenly, because of this virus, now that's a question. That's a real that has serious consequences for America, regardless of what state you're in.
And I did see something else that was very interesting today. Tucker Carlson did a short on Viagra being part of the solution. Has anybody watched that?
I heard something about it. I didn't read any of the articles about it. Wouldn't that make you talk about mansplaining? That's seriously. That's messed
dead
up.
serious. I'm going to drop the link in the chat and everybody go watch it, because there was a lady that was on they were fixed. They were just a day or two away from pulling her the plug on her ventilator, and they gave her a mass amount of this stuff, and within hours she woke up and was fine.
Well, it truly is a man's world if that's the case, but whatever.
Okay, well, I dropped it right there. I dropped it right here in the chat.
If they start giving everybody, you talk about a mandate You got to take your Viagra. That is seriously the most messed up thing I've heard all day. And I follow the news, and there's plenty of messed up stuff in the news. So, wow, Travis.
Tucker had
Wow.
a doctor come on, and they cited some studies overseas, and I can't remember the details now because I've already thrown off my game.
Well, what surprised me about Viagra, because Viagra was originally developed as I was married to a molecular biophysicist who worked on these things, and Viagra was Viagra was developed as a heart medication initially, and I don't know if it was if somebody used it like off label, but they found out incidentally when they were studying. They always study the side effects when they're like doing the trials on these things. They found out it had this incidental effect on the other thing. And so, the little blue pill really started out, I believe, as a heart medication to increase blood flow to the heart or something like that.
To the lungs
whatever.
too. That's exactly right, Hawkeye. It increased
yeah.
the blood flow to the lungs, and that helped in that
Right.
aspect.
And all these people, and so they were finding, oh, guess what else it increases blood flow too. So, so Viagra, has quite an interesting history. So it wouldn't surprise me if it cures everything at this point.
I know that was a little off the wall and strange, but it was something that was that was interesting to me because I was actually looking for Area 51 stuff. I'm gonna do a show on some of this stuff that the CIA's released.
Now, someone in the chat is asking if this is live or a rerun.
It's live.
What am I missing? The little live button.
Well, we talk about this a lot, I guess.
I guess. Well, I don't think we've talked about this. I haven't talked about any, really. I wasn't sure what we were going to talk about tonight. But I know you like when I come on ladies' night. I wanted to get you up to 5,000 views if possible today.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, wouldn't that be awesome?
It would be awesome. We actually had a 3,700 last night.
Oh, it looks like the trolls are going crazy in the chat from what I'm reading. I don't know. I wasn't really paying attention. We always have trolls.
Yeah, we were 3,800 last night and 4,000 the night that you and I covered the Supreme Court stuff.
So I know we're waiting to hear. If you want me, I'll come on when they actually come down with the ruling, and we'll chat about it. We can do a post-mortem on that. But regardless of how they rule, even if they keep the stay in place, it's just kicking the can down the road, because the issue of the constitutionality and the merits of the case, are still going to be decided. So it's just kind of a Band-Aid on the situation. But I think that it's supposed to go into effect tomorrow, so they're going to have to come up with something quickly.
Right.
Yeah.
I had to fast forward. I think they're going to avoid it. I think they did make some good comments that Congress has had a year to do something with it, and they didn't do it. Why is everybody why is everybody staying away from it? Because they don't want to be the bad guys. And if they need to make a firm stance on it and be done with it, it just needs to be done.
Well, and like I said, they have that where are my notes here? But there is this question, and Justice Kavanaugh raised it, and we talked about it on Friday, but it's worth repeating that one of their hesitations about this case is that there are some issues. So the question is, why is OSHA even involved in this, right? What's happened over decades since George Washington, okay? The administrative state and Congress, right? They outsourced their responsibility, and they've created all these agencies, and OSHA being one of them, DHS, all of them. These are creations of Congress, okay? And that's kind of where OSHA and all these things get their authority. Now it's gotten completely out of control. We could do a 10-hour show on that subject alone. But there is a doctrine that the Supreme Court has where if an issue is a big enough, if it's if it has big enough societal impact, you know, like a major issue, the court would not look. The court would say that, well, we shouldn't be deciding on this. That, in other words, this is improper. It's an improper use of I'm sorry, it's getting late. I'm getting tired. Of administrative function. In other words, OSHA shouldn't be regulating this issue. Congress has to act. If they want a mandate or a requirement to get a shot or anything about COVID, because it's such a big, it's going to impact so many people, they have to get together. They have to get the political will together. They have to take the heat if you know that's going to be part of it, and take the political risk and pass a law. And then the Supreme Court their role would be, because it will get challenged, their role is to come in and say, is this law constitutional or unconstitutional? That's the proper way to do it. So when Justice Roberts asks, well, aren't you just trying to do an end around? Like, you guys are trying to like get around the proper process. That's what he's talking about. So there is a possibility that, you know, that's going to factor into the decision as well. And they're going to say OSHA, you know, ultimately they're going to say OSHA has no authority because this is such a massive societal issue. They're going to say, no, OSHA, you can't issue a standard like that. If Congress wants to do this, get together, take a vote, and pass a law. And then we'll decide later whether it's constitutional or not. So there's a possibility that the quote unquote mandate will get thrown out on those grounds. That's more of a procedural, but it's definitely a possibility, and Kavanaugh raised it. So it was probably addressed in the briefs, but he, you know, his questioning was going down that road. So there's a little bit of hope.
Sorry, I'm muted because
Did I bore your entire audience?
No, can you hear them?
Any intel? Sorry,
I'm
guys,
afraid-
no intel.
I'm
No
afraid that
mansplaining, no intel.
I would just like to say I've been enjoying the heck out of you on day 16. You're a brilliant woman. I've super enjoyed the conversation tonight. So thank you.
Oh no, well, that's so nice of you to say. I'm not brilliant. I just
You
I
are
know about
though.
a few things.
My
I know
opinion.
about a few
I'll say, my opinion.
Well, I am a news junkie, and I do, you know, I've worked in so many different areas. So, you know, I don't have intel, but I do like to analyze these things. I'm more of a writer than a speaker, so I hate being like, I can't listen to myself on replays or anything like that. And Travis for some reason likes me to be on the show, so whatever.
You have brilliant insight. It's a blessing to have you on the show.
Oh, it's nice to meet you.
It's nice
And
to
I've
meet you
seen
as
you.
well.
I've seen all of you guys on here. I like that Travis says every night is ladies' night because that's refreshing. You know, I
Yeah.
watched,
the ladies
watched-
usually have more to talk about than the men do. We always sit up here and argue.
You can't help it.
yeah. Well, we're all. I mean, you know, the women got it much more together. You know, but sometimes, but yeah. Well, I didn't know we were going to talk about this, so usually I prepare, and I got a text from Travis saying it's going to be ladies' night. I'm going to send you a link, and I'm like, oh no, I was getting ready to go to sleep. It's past my bedtime.
Well, we're glad you stayed up. And Travis, thanks for engaging in ladies' night.
Oh
Well, I
yeah.
like to talk to people in California. It makes me feel less lonely because we're in the same boat where I am. I mean, it's
We call it
I don't-
California. That's where we are. California right now. It's horrible.
yeah. Well, we have our names for Connecticut, but that's a whole topic for another show. But especially on the weekends, I always feel like no one's in charge on the weekends. You know, because like there's no. When the previous president was in, like he would do press conferences on a Saturday, and you always felt like, you know, somebody was minding the store. and I don't know, like it's kind of creepy with Biden because like once Friday hits, it's like this void and news void. So every Sunday night I sit here and think, you know, what's going to happen Monday morning because there's this like barrage of like news, and is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad? And um it's complicated this week by the SCOTUS thing because everybody is waiting, and um, it's going to affect all of us. Is he checking out the trolls? I missed all the trolls.
Miss Blue Moon probably down there throwing them out left and right. I was watching the chat there for a second. Firma, right now we're just talking about mandates and stuff like that. We're pretty open here. Somebody has a subject.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have anything to contribute about airplanes or I don't know any of that stuff. All the guy stuff that you guys were talking about the other night.
Yeah,
The neighbors put it on.
got it.
Thank you. I tried.
I think you're going to see with depending on what happens with the court, you're going to start seeing a shift in the narrative on COVID because we've been at such an impasse. People are worn out. People need to get back to work. I hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, people want to just stay home and they just want to get unemployment." We want to get back to our businesses. We want to get back to normal. We want the kids to get back to normal. That's the most important thing. And we keep doing the same thing over and over, and things are getting worse. Things aren't adding up. Stories aren't adding up. We're going to head into the midterm. This is going to be the issue in the midterm. I saw in Pennsylvania, in your stomping grounds, Travis, Doug Mastriano announced that he's running for governor. Did you see that?
No, I haven't. You mean in Pennsylvania?
Yeah. And wouldn't it be wonderful if he won? Things, we could finally get past this limbo we're all in as far as, the mandate is creating it. My governor, he just doesn't want to let it go. He doesn't want to let this quote unquote emergency go. And it's creating havoc.
Well, didn't you say that California's already gone full on mail-in only for 22?
I think so. I think I read that. Sarah, is that true?
What was that?
On the voting system, is it all mail-in now?
Well, it's not all mail-in, but it's the option. And I mean, we're a blue state too, and that's what most people like. Look at the recall. I was so certain that he was going to be recalled, but no, I swear there was fraud there too. But
Oh, 100%. He was not
reelected.
reelected.
No, I mean they got enough signatures for the recall to happen. So I mean, it should have happened. It's insane.
Well, it's amazing. In my state, it's like just I call this the state of denial because that's what it is. And even here, even in this messed up, hot mess of a state, I saw a news report today with a gentleman who he's running for Secretary of State, which is also another really important when we talk about voter stuff. Secretary of State, whoever's in that office, is important. And it was refreshing to see a candidate in here who he was talking about transparency in elections and how that was really important. And he said transparency and integrity in elections is non-negotiable. And I thought, where's this guy been all my life? And that's in a blue state. So people are having the conversation, and it really, like we've talked about many times on your program, and we all have to get behind these candidates. I don't have the money right now to donate to them, but I do have the time. So I'm going to knock on doors, do whatever I can to help them. Everybody can do something. I'll go to events as much as possible. And and we have to, because there are some good people stepping up, especially I think after the trauma of what we've gone through for the past 2 years. So now it's time to running for office is not for everyone. And it's very hard to run as a red candidate in a blue state. It's brutal. It's a blood sport. So you need strong people who are going to fight and who who kind of have the the strength to do that, and they're coming out. They're coming out of the woodwork, and they're putting their names in. So we need to support them in any way we can and vote 100%.
Yeah. Yes, we need to come out in numbers they've never can even fathom.
Yeah, people need to stop taking that option of mail-in votes and make sure that they're going in person and making it happen. I think that was the biggest scam of all, is being able to mail in vote.
Well, there were people, I absolutely what I saw was happening, and in my state, although I live in a real red town, okay, like red.
Yay.
Yay. In here, I mean, it's not a perfect, it doesn't solve a lot of problems, but my town went for 45 both times. Okay, that's in Connecticut, right?
Nice.
So I have a lot of faith in the system, like hyper locally, but I wasn't going to mail in my ballot. I don't know what's going to happen to it. It's too important. I had travel plans and I changed them. I left the day after the election so that I could be physically here to vote, and I'm going to do it again. And
Awesome.
it should be day of voting. We don't have early voting in Connecticut.
Were
but
they
now they're-
asking for your IDs there? Because I know that right in California we got the mail ballot, so you could mail. But if you weren't going to mail it in and you were going in person, then you needed to take that and surrender it in there. And with that piece of mail, you didn't even need your identification. I didn't have to give them my identification card to vote for president. And they did something different when I did the recall election for our governor in this past September. They didn't ask me for my ID either. And I said, well, how do you know that I'm the voter or whatever? Well, your paper that you just brought in. So I could have just got somebody who used to live in my place that I just moved into, their mail, took it in there to different places. And that's how I'm seeing that it was able to be done. They didn't ever ask me for my ID, and only at the recall election did they take a Sharpie marker and write on my my ballot that I surrendered. They wrote void on it. But my presidential one, they didn't write anything on it, and they didn't even ask me for my ID there either. So how do they know who you are? It's insane. That system.
Yeah, no, here, so I don't think I can remember it not being this way. They always ask for my ID, and they have somebody sitting there physically, they ask for your ID and then they put a check by your name, like that you showed up to vote or whatever. But for the first, but again, this was the COVID thing, right? So our governor, he issued an executive order that said everybody's going to get an absentee ballot, like basically whether you want it or not. So I got one mailed to me. Well, I threw it in the I tore it up, threw it in the garbage because I knew I was going to vote in person. But how many people sent one in and also voted? I mean, you don't know. There would be nobody. I mean, I would never send one in and then go vote. But how many people would? Come on.
There's no regulatory protocol, and
there would be nobody to stop me if I did.
Exactly.
Right. So, yeah. Now we do. I'm gonna also look it up. But speaking of lawsuits, this is a little different topic. But I see somebody in the chat that says lockdown is unconstitutional. So we have some local it's a local business owner, and there are a few other plaintiffs, and they sued our governor earlier on during the lockdown when it was like more stringent here about locking down businesses, and they were denied at different levels. Well, they got the case, so in state courts all like dismissed them, didn't want to hear it. Oh, the governor's right, he can do whatever he wants basically. But they got the case into federal court, and I think it's on the 12th, or it's coming up. And they're going to be suing him about the legality of the lockdowns, of classification of essential and non-essential businesses. And I would love to see more cases like that, because you talk about legal precedent, Travis. This is why those lawsuits matter. We need to be getting things on record, and cases, litigated, that establish some precedent so that these kind of lockdowns, these things that we know are not constitutional, do not happen again. Okay. That so that, forget about, I'll be dead. Okay. But so that my grandkids don't have to, face the same issue where somebody's trying to lock down an economy, or do the same kind of thing. So when we talk about the lawsuits, I think those are coming, and I was really glad to see it come in our state, especially because our governor was such a lockdown governor and was so he was absolutely tyrannical. I mean, there's no other word for it. So I got my eye on that case. So I'll be doing my homework and reporting in.
There you
But
go.
I think it's probably coming up in other states. Now, the reason it's taken so long, well, our courts have been closed down. There've only been, I think, 5 jury trials since 2000 in our state. So when people say, "Oh, the legal system is slow," what are you going to do when the courts closed down because of COVID? I mean, that's the excuse. It's very difficult. Oh, we have a new co-host. You don't need us now.
Oh my goodness! Look at that.
That's my fancy dog.
Gorgeous.
You're a good girl.
I see Hawkeye's in the house too.
Yes, he is.
Welcome back.
I don't like guinea pig.
Huh?
She don't like the guinea pig.
She don't like the guinea pig.
Mhm.
Is she scared of it?
It walked up to her. She took off running.
I don't know. Is there anything else coming up this week that we should have our eyes on in the news? I'm always thinking about COVID, but
I'm sure there is, but I couldn't tell you.
well, you can always invite me to come back on the show.
Every night's ladies' night. We lost somebody. Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. I always love the ladies to come on. It's usually a better conversation.
We
It's
got
less
our
rowdy.
act together.
Oh yeah.
We're hardcore.
Yeah, I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna dig into some of that Area 51 stuff that the CIA, that's on the CIA website. There's some strange stuff on there.
I saw that they declassified some of the records. Is that what happened?
Yes, in 2012 actually, but people, it's so boring to go through, and I hate to read, and a lot of it is just talking back and forth and stuff. I'm waiting for him to get to some of the stories. My buddy Brandon, he's actually digs into that stuff a little bit. It's pretty fascinating stuff. Project Veritas is doing a thing on Fauci tomorrow. That ought to be good.
Yeah, that will be good. If I had money, if I were going to donate money right now, there's 2 places I would donate: Project Veritas and Judicial Watch. Judicial Watch, Tom Fitton is doing, yeoman's work, filing all the lawsuits. I wish I could. I want to get a job there. I would volunteer to work there because I think those 2 organizations are doing what needs to be done. And sometimes when you're at home and you're watching the news all the time, you feel kind of helpless, and they cut right to the heart of the matter. And I'd love to see what Project Veritas has on Fauci. I think
Oh,
Rand Paul went
yeah.
after him again today too. So
good. Yeah.
Shelley has a question on day 16. Why are the legals working exempt? Yeah, that's a great question. You mean with the mandates? Yeah,
Mhm.
that's a great question, right? If the virus is so deadly, how come they can come in and work and they're not subject to it, right? And they also talked about in the arguments on Friday that with this quote unquote mandate or the OSHA regulation, there's an exception for postal workers. Well, does the virus not know? Like, does the virus know if you're a postal worker or not? These things do not make any scientific sense whatsoever. Truckers will not be able to cross country lines, Canada and USA without the jab. Yeah, that's what they want.
Yeah,
They
it'll
want to
devastate
shut
the
down
industry.
interstate. I mean, they not interstate commerce, international commerce. At that point,
Yeah, it'll devastate the industry. I promise you, it will. Because
well,
you
yeah,
still have a bunch of old school drivers out there, and I don't know what the percentage would be right now. I'll do some research on that. We can talk about that sometime too.
yeah, and we have to, and I see Canadian Patriot is in the chat too, but yeah, we talked about mandates earlier, but we've gotten really sloppy with our language, and it's because it's media driven, but you got the person working in the grocery store telling you a mandate's a law. They don't even know what a mandate is. You know what I mean? And it's just kind of slipped into the language now where everybody's issuing a mandate. You got mayor's issuing mandates, this one issuing a mandate. It's insane. It really is out of control. I'm just
Outlandic
reading the
says
chat.
you heard it's a lot of truck drivers that'll shut down. Probably so. There in my world, there's not a lot of talk about it though.
You mean they're not discussing it?
Right?
Yeah,
They're
well,
not.
it's kind of understood they're not going to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you can't get 5 truck drivers to agree on anything. It's not that they're strange.
Well, they're playing with fire if they want to risk truck drivers walking off the job. Because if you think the shelves are bare now, we're not really, where I am, we're not seeing shortages really. I mean, the grocery stores are pretty well stocked. We saw shortages at the beginning of COVID, like bad. You see like certain things are like out of stock, but then they'll be back in stock. But you shut down trucking, good luck.
Well, you could take it a step further than that. It's so simple to devastate this economy, and it's real simple. You stop the fuel, you're done. Everybody's done. It's not just truckers. The whole United States stops now.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, Second Musketeer. I got to give Second Musketeer a shout out.
Okay.
You don't realize how valuable I am, Travis. Thank you for your calming. I missed the chat.
Got it.
They were saying what a calming influence I am on this panel.
There you go. I just put it up there.
Every time
you have that soft, sweet, intelligent voice. You do.
I know. When I don't call in, like, then the mansplaining gets out of control, and there's like fighting on here. So
are you the regulator? Are you the regulator on day 16?
Yeah, I'm like the mediator.
Yeah.
And I have to come on here and, I don't know about all these subjects, but I am, I'm concerned, and like my screen name is I'm looking at these things all through the lens of COVID, not because I'm obsessed with it, but I'm really concerned. I'm really concerned about how it's changing our society, and I'm worried about what's doing to the kids and world they're living in. I mean, I don't have young kids, but kids going to school, young kids who are wearing masks all day. It's instilling such fear in them, things like that, or just how we think about work. I worked from home when my kids were little, okay? And when I did, I had people in the family and friends, just they thought it was so weird. They're like, "Why don't you go get a real job? Why don't you do this?" And I did it so that my kids never went to daycare. I had one in daycare for a week because I had to finish a paper for law school, okay? And I needed to work, okay? 1 week. I had 3 kids. That's my use of daycare. So back then it was like, well, that was weird and strange and selfish, and why don't you go get a real job? And now, 20 years later, working from home everyone needs to do it. Everybody needs to home, and like workplaces are kind of like the bad place. Very weird. Very
It's a safe
strange.
place to be right now, really, is at home, because it's sad. Like my career, I loved my career, and I can't do it because it just draws a moral boundary for me. So that really at home is the safest, most free place that you can be working from right now.
I really wanted my daughter, my youngest one, to just say, "Mom, I'm just gonna, you know, I just want to, be in school remotely," because I felt it was just better environment for her, less anxiety. But she begged me. She wanted to go back. She wanted to be in person. The only thing I will say about the Catholic school
It's
that
a
she goes
social
to
thing
is when the
and
schools
emotional.
first opened, like the public schools, they didn't want to open. They didn't do a very good job with remote learning. Her school wanted the girls to be there. She goes to an all girls school. Okay, they wanted to be open. They wanted the kids. So they did some things right, and they were set up for remote learning before COVID. I live in the Northeast, so we have snowstorms and schools closes down because of snows, and they don't want the kids on the road or whatever. Um, it wreaks havoc on the calendar. So the public schools, once they reach so many days of snow days, they have to make the days up because it's a statutory requirement. Well, with the public school, they don't want like her school, they didn't want the girls to be making up days. Like they stuck to their calendar. So what they did was, years ago, they had it set up when, if there was a snow day, the girls would get their assignments remotely. They would submit them. So they were already set up for remote learning before COVID was ever on the radar screen. So I have to say, even during that like extreme shutdown time and times where they've gone remote because of surges in cases, I mean, it's bull, but whatever.
They were prepared for it, though, to
They were
meet the
prepared for
needs.
it, and academically, they've kept up. Like, she hasn't lost a year of learning or anything like that. That I will give them credit for.
What I learned where I live, I was thankful for the distance learning at first, because, like I said, my youngest child, she is disabled, so I was able to see, really, like, when I'm going to these meetings every year prior, ever since she was 3, I'm not really understanding things, right? They're doing assessments and stuff, and I'm actually seeing how they're teaching her. It actually benefited my high school students. They were good, but I did learn where I live, they weren't meeting the needs of the students that were falling behind, which were like the majority of them, right? We live in a really small rural community, and there's a lot of poor people, and who don't have like the technology, or the parents who are able to help the kids, on the side. And so it was really sad. And then you see the suicide rates skyrocket, and nobody says anything about that, but the teachers are doing their best. I honestly, and I don't mean to offend anybody, but this is my personal opinion on some of the teachers where I live. They were more satisfied being able to sit at home in their pajamas and do a Zoom teaching, and not really engage with the students and have their latte. And it was really sad. That was like 18 months worth of sadness for these kids. And like my daughter, she just graduated. Praise God. I'm really praising God for that. She was an avid basketball player. She played basketball from the time she was in 5th grade until her junior year when this COVID hit. And she was had to do a resume in high school to be part of the Arcata Arts Institute. So she had to do a resume and a portfolio of her art. I have some of it hanging on my wall and stuff. She's incredible. But because of all this and because of the distance learning and the lack of social emotional support and all the fear going around outside of our own home, because our home was cool, but when you're around people all the time, you know, so she lost friends. She's so shy, and it was like borderline wanting to take her life. And I know that I'm like just one of so many thousands of stories of parents who've experienced that with their kids, not to mention the ones that actually did take their lives. And so it's really just a sad circumstance that we're in.
Well, it nauseates me when I hear my governor now, like he'll put, I don't know who runs his social media and some of the legislators in my state talking about, well, we have a mental health crisis among the youth, and we have, addiction and mental health issues, and we have a surge in that. And I'm thinking, you created it with what you've done to these kids for, you know what I mean? Like, if we're having a surge in it, well, what's been different for the past year and a half? Let me think. You told the kids they can't have their sports. My middle
No
daughter,
prom, no.
my middle daughter was a star athlete, okay, and she had missed an entire season, almost another one, for no reason. I mean, it's an outdoor sport. They shut them down, and things like that. So it really upsets me to hear them saying, "Well, we're going to come in and swoop in and fix this crisis of children's mental health, a crisis they created." It's really
The saddest part is the only way that they can play now is if you're going to play a sport, that's when they're going to really like push these mandates. You want to play basketball, you want to do cheerleading, then you better be vacationed. Then you better get tested twice a week. And you know what I mean? All these things that really it's coercion because none of these things are authorized. And it's sickening that it's able to go on because, right, we talk about the legality of it and it's not legal, but why is it legal? You know what I mean? It's like
we're mothers, and so they play on the fact that we want, all we want is for our kids to get back to normal, to be happy, to do the things they love, to be kids, to get, I look at my daughter and she's doing very well. She's top of her class. I mean, top of her class. And she's involved, and she was able this year to, do some of the activities they love, but none of it was completely normal. She's got a lot of anxiety about things, of course. And, what parent doesn't want their kids to be doing all these normal things? So that's how they get you, right? Well, you want your kid to get back normal. They dangle the carrot. They dangle the carrot and say, well, all they have to do is get the magic jabba-doodle. It's really sinister at times. You can do whatever you want to me, but not to my kids. That's, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
that's
most definitely
a deal breaker for me.
And it sucks because our kids are the ones who are suffering, and those people, and you want to hope that they care. You do. You want to hope that they care, but maybe they're part of this delusion that's going. People really are delusional. The people that were normal, what is normal? But on the lines of normal, living their lives and making rational decisions now are not able to do that. They're
Well,
not
I
able
don't
to make
really,
rational
and we talk about the kids, and I'm not able to run my business the way I want to. Things are in limbo. My customer base has been kind of destroyed because everything I did was, face to face, like heavy, like customer interaction. And when your business is built on events and there's no events in your state basically for a year and a half, how are you supposed to have a viable business? So we're all being hamstrung in different ways. But the kids don't have a voice or really the power to change it. We have to be the voice for them. I mean, I'm an adult. I can pick up and move. I mean, it's not practical, but I have some options. The kids don't have options. You know, they're locked in. And it's a huge problem. No, I mean, don't get me going on this topic because, you know, my kids are everything. And any normal parent feels that way. And that's why, you know, the attack on parental rights is so insidious because it it goes against nature. You know, your parental instincts, and they want to tell you that your parental instinct to protect your child is wrong. That's a very dangerous
And it's
message.
God given, really. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
it's
it's
God
wrong.
given. Well,
And
I'm
they'll take your
Catholic.
kids. They will take your kids away because of your God given mother intuition for your child, and questioning things. Like, for instance, I have a story. We'll get into it one day. Maybe we can do a testimony night.
Oh
But
yeah, we're gonna do more of these, but
my
yeah,
daughter,
I mean,
my
I'm
daughter had
Catholic.
cancer. My daughter who has Down syndrome also had cancer. We'll get into it one time. But really, in the United States, you have 3 options if that were to happen to your kid: chemo, radiation, surgery. Those are your options. And I can tell you from experience, that's your options. You want to question it, and I'll tell you what happens. But we'll get into
Oh
that
yeah,
another.
there's plenty of coercion when it comes to that. Yeah,
Oh, they'll
I
take your
can.
kid right away. They will, and then give them those procedures anyways. Give the jurisdiction to the court, and because you are neglecting your child medically, because they should have surgery or they should have chemo or yeah, you're not allowed to question those things. Know that it's horrible.
Yeah, and if you have a child who, um, oh, yeah, well, and then transgender surgery. I mean, there's a lot. I read a case, and I think there've been a few of them in the news, but a guy who lost custody because the child wanted to have transgender surgery, and he was against it. The wife was for it, and they took his custody away. I mean, there's all kinds. There are many examples of that kind of thing. Um,
Insane.
I wanted to get to Shelley's comment about the machine voting, just to change the subject for a second.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I was looking, this is something to really, really look at when you're looking towards the 2022 elections, the midterms. Look at what these candidates, whether especially the governor, the Secretary of State, the AG candidates, are they coming out and speaking about this issue of the voting machines? I saw there's a guy who's running in Michigan. Okay, there's a state that needs a new governor really, really badly. And he said the first thing he's going to do is he's going to terminate the contracts with the voting machine companies. Okay, that's good to know. Get behind that candidate. Okay, that's a great step. I think I don't know if Doug Mastriano in Pennsylvania has mentioned the machine specifically, but he has talked about election integrity. Good start. So that's the kind of question. So somebody knocking on your door or somebody wants your vote, ask them what their opinion is on Shelley's question. Really important to know. And if they're saying that they're going to terminate the contract for those machines, they're probably at least somewhat ethical. You know.
Sorry, I'm straightening out a mess I created over here.
What's he typing?
Oh, I think Miss Blue Moon got him instead of the bottle while ago, so I went in and undid it, and she was trying to do it at the same time.
Oh, do we have a hater in there? Do the people want more yelling and more fighting?
No.
And cursing and
There's room. Yeah, there's room up. There's still room on the panel if you want, like, you know.
yeah, I can step off if somebody wants to get on, because on day 16 is the one you want to talk to.
Oh, he put Second Musketeer's comment up. Second Musketeer likes us. Travis, you need to have these ladies on more often.
I see
Both
that.
are very aware and use common sense. See?
Oh, sir.
People in your chat know the deal.
Yeah. You guys are always welcome here. I'll tell you that every night. Every night's ladies' night around here. we want to focus on the things that we can change now, and not what ifs is so much. You know, the what ifs. You know, I've seen a lot of comments in chat. Next week's a big week. Until somebody shows me something, I'm not going to buy into that stuff anymore. I'm going to stick to what we can fix, and how to fix it. And you know, I know some people didn't think that our talk on the Supreme Court stuff was the greatest in the world, but we got 4,000 views the other night, and I thought it was a great subject. And I think these kinds of things need to be addressed. You know, you've been through a lot, Sarah. You know, you're just what you've been through. People need to know what they can do to combat that.
Well, I can't pay the rent. Well, not the rent. I can't pay my bills on what ifs.
Right.
My child can't put their life on hold for what ifs. People are suffering. You know, I mean, we all have, you know, we all have things that we're dealing with. So does it really make sense for me to wait around and hope that someone's going to come in and swoop and fix it? Seems like I've been waiting a pretty long time. You know, and maybe it's just because of the way I look at things, but I like to solve problems. So I don't care who it is, whether it's the T-Man or anybody else. I've never been the kind of person to sit back and want someone to fix my problems. I want to fix them myself. That's what has been so frustrating about COVID, right? Because everybody's telling you to stay home and stay isolated and not be out there in the world. I wouldn't have what I have. I wouldn't even own my house or have a car or anything if I wasn't out in the world. So, you know, I can't survive staying home and staying safe for 2 years. I can't do it anymore. I have to make a change. And so, you know, I have to get off my couch and push to get back to normal. That's the only way. That's all that works for me, and that's what I want for my child, and that's my motivation. I mean, it's
And
as
you're
simple
setting
as
that
that.
example for your child as well, which is
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that, but you know, teenage girls, you're never doing everything right. Trust
I
me.
have
But
3 teenagers. I know all about teenagers. I'm in that mode right now, where they hate you. So,
well,
I
I
know.
keep saying to my girls, I look at it this way, you know, someday this is all going to be, you know, this whole situation is going to be in the rearview mirror. And I want them to remember where I stood. Okay. Like I try to do the right thing. And look, I was a teenage girl at 1.2, and I remember certain things my mother said now. And it was like, oh, she was so right. And she, you know, what she did for me, and like, you know, to make certain things happen for me. So, you know, I
So
mean,
one day they'll see it. One day they
I'm
will
like
see
every
it.
parent like that. You know, we all do that, moms and dads. But, um, you know, like I have, you know, they yell at me. They want me to wear a mask like everywhere I go. You know what
So
I
do
mean?
I. My kids
Everywhere.
won't shop with me. They will not shop with me because I go in certain places where I know they don't make you wear one. So I walk in like, like this. And I had to use the restroom last week, and I took my 17-year-old daughter with me, and I was also with my twin sister. And I was like, "Hey, can you guys get me a cart? I'll meet you in the aisle, when I come out of the bathroom." And my daughter would not get me. Well, she did get me the cart, but she didn't want to get it. She would rather have my sister get it for me, where she didn't have to interact and act like she knew me, because she wanted to wear the mask and I didn't. And it's not that she likes wearing it, but it's exactly what you're talking about. The teenagers, and this is how even in school they're teaching them that they're doing their part. It's messed up.
Well, you know, in my girls' school, their whole, like it or not, I mean, I think it's overemphasized, but they're always talking about female empowerment, and yet they've pushed the mask. And I've said there's nothing empowering about that message, especially since a lot of the kids have had the the shot. I mean, does the shot not work? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
If you have the shot and you've done all this stuff, then the mask is really just a submission device at this point,
That's
because
why people got it, right? So
not
they
doing
can
anything
go around
medical.
and not
Yeah.
be having to wear those things. And now all of a sudden,
Right.
doesn't matter what your status is, you have to wear it anyways. It's
Right.
insane.
Right. And we've been doing it for 2 years.
Too
That's the other
long.
thing. 2 years.
Um,
So what's the definition of insanity? I mean, that's just it's my opinion, but so again, someday they're going to have, I keep saying, someday you girls are going to have kids of your own, and you're going to understand where I was coming from and why I lost sleep during during COVID. I wasn't losing sleep just because, my business was shut down. I was trying to figure out, like how to get that back, or what I should do, or like financially how I was going to weather that. I was worried about what it was doing to them, and they don't get that, but they will. They will get it someday,
I
so.
believe that too.
Yeah.
Well, and everything I'm reading the chat, and people are talking about the mask, which I know it's like a hot button topic, but uh, things are pretty much. My governor, like, there was a point in time where governors, like in Illinois, where my mother and my siblings live, where he went back and he issued another indoor mask mandate. And my governor surprisingly did not do that. He's left it to the towns. And for the most part, pretty much everywhere I go to church and go to the store, and you don't have to wear a mask. Now people do, because they're worried or whatever. I don't. I walk in and there's no problem.
See, I'm cool with that. I'm cool with the choice, the free choice. What you
Right.
want to do is cool with you. But I
Right.
should be able to have the choice to not do it. And that's cool that you have that
But the
option.
sick thing
My
is,
church, I can't even go to. I got to watch it on YouTube because I refuse to go in there and wear a mask.
but the sick thing is, so my church, look, this is we'll do a whole show one day about how the churches have handled this, but I happen to have, my priest is pretty good, and he said, look, we're moving on. If people are still scared, we have like a separate room where they can watch on closed circuit or whatever, or he's like, we're not going back. If you want to wear a mask, great. If you don't, whatever.
Cool.
But the thing that bothers me is the one place where things are not normal, where things are like, who have to do well, other than the hospitals and stuff, is the schools. What does that tell you? I mean, it's I don't think it's scientific, and it's really hurting the kids. So that's kind of a sticking point with me. People are like, well, what are you worried about? Everything's pretty much normal. Well, it's not normal if like, where can you go apply for a job in my state if you don't have the what? That's not a normal situation. So
Especially
I
when
think
that's
people.
the only thing preventing you from getting it. Like, you're qualified for that job, except for that aspect. It's a sad, sickening state. It really is.
And I'm at a stage of life where I'm virtually right on the cusp of being an empty nester. So I have time. I'd love to go out and be active. I don't want to sit at my computer all day. Like, it's not good for you. It's not healthy. It's not mentally healthy. And so there's some places where I would just get like a part-time. I'm the perfect, like, older, like, person, part-time job, like, real responsible, always on time. who- you know, there are barriers to getting hired that weren't there 3 years ago. So it isn't, I laugh, and as soon as the restrictions were somewhat lifted in my state, people were celebrating. They're popping champagne corks. Hey, this is great. We're back to normal. We are not back to normal. We're still not back to normal.
Yep.
So, that's my contention. And it's
For the most part here, everybody's almost back to normal. There's still a few that are running around terrified to death, but not many. Not many
We
at
have
all.
groups against people like us who screenshot our posts and stuff like that and share it and want you to call the line to tell on companies who aren't complying with the mandates, and it's freaking insane. It really is. I hate where I live. I hate it. And I've been here like my whole life. I used to love it and I hate it.
well, I think we had more of that like at the beginning where it was brutal. You know what I mean? Like where if you had a business that wasn't strictly enforcing all this stuff, people would tell on them. You probably had it in California. Not all states had it, but we had a snitch line. I mean, you want to talk about,
We have one too. That's what I
yeah,
was saying.
I
They're
think
posting about it and saying anytime you see people not wearing face masks or whatever, call this number. They're posting it all over the place, and they're going in our groups and screenshotting and then going into the businesses and taking, like that school or the education center I was telling you about that they're doing under a private membership association. There was a post about that too. Call on them. They're trying to have their kids unmasked and not following mandates, and it's insane. It really is. And they
so.
have people following their group.
So I have a Facebook friend. I don't know him personally, but I know him kind of like through political organization, whatever. And so what he did is he did a FOIA request, and he got the names and addresses of all the people who called and were snitches and snitched on businesses.
That's a
And he got
smart
on
idea.
YouTube. He has a YouTube channel, and he got on and he read them off. And he's like, hey, Mary Smith, you must be real proud of yourself for calling, for like, for tattling on the tobacco shop or whatever.
That
And he
is my
called them-
kind of guy. I got to get
he
that.
called them
YouTube
all
channel.
out. It was the greatest thing ever. And
I
I
love that.
actually, he said I could have the, because they sent him like I don't know if it was like a Excel sheet or like, like a whole list, like pages and pages. And he said he would send me like the file electronically. I said, I want to just do this. Like I want to, when I get my show going, I want to just call these places out. And, because you had businesses calling and tattling on other businesses. And he did it. He went for,
I
he would
love
do
that.
like hours of it, and he would just read off the names. And he's like, you saw fit to participate in that kind of snitching and, ratting out your neighbor for living their lives. We had people reporting neighbors for having teenagers having a party at their house. That's how bad it was. So he called them out right on
I
YouTube.
love that guy.
It was great. It was epic.
I believe it. Like I'm all tickled and I haven't even watched it. Just hearing about it, I'm like loving it.
Yeah, it was must see TV.
Share that link. I want to watch it.
Yeah,
That'll
you
be
want to
the
be
highlight of
passive
my day.
aggressive? I can be passive aggressive. That's
Yeah.
the kind of stuff that needs to happen.
Hey, I don't mind calling people out. I could do that too. I like it too. I like confrontation sometimes.
Well, so I mean, if you felt justified in doing that, then you know what? Then own it. Okay. I mean, you had no problem
Don't
doing
hide
it.
behind an anonymous post or something. Say, hey, call them out. I would say it to you. If I'm going to say something, I'm going to say it to your face. I'd say it behind your back too, but I'd say it to your face. That's what counts the most. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, but most of these people are cowards and they put on fake names and
Yep.
fake personas, and it's just fake.
Yeah.
Yep.
That would be a good show for Travis and I to do. It'd be like call out all the snitches. That'd be
You
great.
got to. That'd probably be like the #1 show of the week.
Well,
Uh,
yeah. I mean, Travis can tell you I'm a real softie. I'm a nice person,
yes, she
but
is.
that's the kind of stuff that gets me worked up. See, that's when, like, the very long fuse I have runs out, and then
I,
I'm
I've witnessed that once.
yeah,
Oh,
then
you
it's
know what?
scorched earth.
That's probably what makes you amazing, because those are the people that you really don't want to mess with, that have that patience naturally and can tolerate so much. But then when it gets to the end and they explode like a bomb, that's when it's really scary. Those are the scariest people, I think.
Yeah, well, it's because when
Not
I
in
get
a
to that
scary,
point,
oh, we're
you've
gonna
earned
die.
it. You've
Yeah.
earned it when I get to that point. You have
Yeah.
completely earned it, Yeah, we'll do Hawkeye is in the chat. We'll talk about FOIA one day and doing that, because you can learn an awful lot with FOIA requests. And we're still doing them in our state about communications with our governor, with different departments, to try to find out what was going on in 2020 with the COVID money, among other things.
That's why I love Del Bigtree and the High Wire, because they've been doing those since the beginning too, or even before that. And I like the information that we're all getting from that. Those freedom of information requests are awesome. So how do you go about that? Like me as a layman, if I wanted to, I know it costs money, right? If you're going to do a FOIA.
It depends. Usually it's like printing cost, like whatever it kind of, I think it depends like where you are, and like if you're going to get an electronic record of things or whatever. I don't really do them much. But I'll dig out some of the templates I have, just like form letters we use, just kind of like boilerplate language for how to ask for certain things, but you got to be clear about what you're looking for. And then, they'll give you the runaround. And sometimes they say, well, we don't really have access to whatever. Sometimes you have to push. And the more specific you can be, the better. So, yeah, usually they'll charge you, like
labor for looking for the file or something, and then printing, and then delivering.
Yeah, if it's something really simple, it can add up. Like if you're talking about something like, they send him electronically. So I don't know what he paid for those, but if they have any kind of copy costs or, whatever, that's usually what it is. And, of course they pad it, because I don't think it
They
costs
probably
50 cents a copy.
charge them for redacting stuff out of it too.
Yeah, it's like buying a hammer from the government. The hammer costs $7,000. Okay,
Yeah.
all right. There's the cost, and then the government cost.
Yeah, it's insane.
Usually talk to the city attorney. Yeah, or just like the town clerk is usually who you're dealing with to get records, or it depends what it is. But they drag their heels too, so it can take a while to get. I don't really, it's not something I've done very often. I've done it, I did it years ago. But I get back in the FOIA business, because you get a lot of information.
Yeah.
We'll have to do a little seminar.
Yeah, because I think it's that people don't know, they're not aware. And if they're aware of it, that they're not aware of how to go about doing it,
Deanna says she's being patient. Are we pissing her off?
I don't know. Deanna, you want to come on here? Because I'll go if you want to come on. Though I thought she was on here with us before, and there was plenty of room.
Yeah, there's plenty.
I don't think we're stepping on her toes. I mean, I'm no expert.
No way. Get on here, Deanna. Nobody's stepping on her toes. She's a lover. Let's get her on here.
We got to get Hawkeye back on the panel one of these days.
Sure. Okay, you can come up anytime.
I think he said he was from Indiana. I'd vote for him. I'll go to Indiana. Maybe I'll move there. I have let's see, I gotta check. 507 days left until I can move.
Josh.
Now it's quiet. It's my show now.
Yeah, you just take over. I'm
It
whooped.
is take over.
We went too long last night. Good Lord.
I watched it. I just saw. I was really tired last night, so I fell asleep and I woke up. I'm like, they're still on.
Yeah, almost 5 hours we went.
Yeah, a lot of mansplaining. I told you. I could tell. I could tell. I could tell it was a bunch of Iowa. Hawkeyes in Iowa. Even better. I love Iowa. Iowa's on my short list of places to go.
Yeah. Anybody that's wondering about David, I got a text message from him earlier and I responded back to him, haven't heard back from him. He did send
I'm
me
starting to get a complex. He won't come on the panel when I'm on. I noticed that.
well, I haven't even talked to him. I usually talk to him every day. But he sent me something that was a little off, so I don't know what's going on. I'll try to check in with him.
It sounds like he's got a lot going on,
He does. He's
Yeah.
got a lot going on.
Discernment Files is in the house.
Yeah.
Let's see who else. They don't think I know who they are, but I pay attention. I'm not senile yet. I mean, I'm old, but I'm not senile.
Might be a little of both.
Hey, that's where the wisdom comes in, though, right? With age, like they say.
Yeah, but my short-term memory is awful.
Oh, and Deanna's comment about patience is running low. Not with anybody here in particular. She's talking about with our county where we live in
Oh.
Humboldt County in
Yeah.
California, this rural, small area. It's crazy. Like I've said, and I'm sure you've heard her talking about it. It gets frustrating. It gets exhausting. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting close to the end of my rope in my state. But it's complicated because, I'm divorced. I share custody. And my ex-husband and I, we get along. We get along. It's just that we're on different pages as far as COVID stuff, and we see the world very differently, like politically and stuff.
I understand that 100%.
So I feel like I'm in kind of, I'm just tethered to this state. And like I said, not that I'm counting, but 507 days to that's where my head is at because I've had it, but like I said, we do anything for our kids. So I'm here because my daughter wants to finish up at her school. So I just do the best I can. And then I'd like to just vote in a new governor before I leave. That'd be nice. That'd be my parting gift to Connecticut. Get some good people elected.
Yeah. Okay. Bye.
Travis, you got this. Good vibes.
Good vibes, yeah. We like the good vibes. These shows are so much easier to do without any controversy.
Well, there's enough important stuff to talk about without, wasting time arguing about,
Yes.
stuff.
Right.
We're all on the same, and a lot of people are arguing out there that we're on the same side. Sometimes we have a different way of getting. I thought we had a good conversation with D-Dog the other night because he and I have a very different approach to some of the legal stuff, but we both had the same goal.
Mm-hmm.
Really, we want good governance. And so we see some things differently, but there's no reason to fight.
Yeah.
And if somebody has a different approach that might be more a better approach, as far as to make something happen, hey, I'm all ears because it's nice to talk about things, but it's also nice to see things happen, And like what I've noticed here where I live, there's a group that is calling into the Humboldt County Board of Supervisors every time they have a meeting. And they're calling like 90 people at a time at 3 minutes, right? So they have to limit all the comments, the public comments. And most of the comments are COVID related. And it was funny because a couple weeks ago, about 90 people called in and a petition was signed with hundreds of signatures to remove the health officer who's implementing all these man, well, because they're basing their decision off this man's recommendation, right? And so petition was signed, remove this guy. And you know what? It's sad because all these people, we feel like we have a say, right? We're reaching out to these elected officials and nothing is happening. In fact, they insulted the constituents. They said, if you're going to write a petition, make sure to spell your county supervisors' names correctly. That was one. And then they went ahead and rehired that same doctor that everybody just tried to get rid of. It's like, so what can you do to make things happen? Obviously, we're a joke to these people, right? If we elect them, but we're a joke to them. So what is the solution to that? Because that's what's getting tiring. I mean, running around in circles like a mouse or a hamster on one of those wheels, and I'm getting tired, you know? So what's the solution?
Well, it's funny because dealing with some of these, we have the same thing. A lot of we have state legislatures, like top leadership, you know, on social media mocking constituents. You know, I mean, since when is this acceptable? You know what I mean? Like you're a politician, you're a public figure. You have to be able to take criticism. You don't go after people. You know, he'll go right after you, like be snarky with you. That's a whole different world. I mean, that's a public servant. That's a professional person. You know, I'm just of a different I'm not really of a different generation, but I'm a little slightly older than some of these. That's not acceptable. You know, I mean, back in the day, you know, politicians got criticized and they kept their mouth shut. They wouldn't go on social media is a problem in that regard. They wouldn't have had a platform to basically sass their constituents. They would have had a platform to do that without, you know, these Facebook and Twitter and
Well,
that
they
sort
weren't
of
doing
thing.
it on Facebook. They were doing it in their actual legit meeting. And that's the thing. Like they were mocking their constituents,
Yeah.
even at the city level. Okay. So that was the county. City level, we have the constituents going in and talking to them, and they won't even they are not even considering ADA. Because really, like I said in the beginning, it's not okay for me to ask somebody if they're gay or if they have herpes or any of those things, right? That is not okay. But it's okay now to make somebody wear a medical device and they're not even supposed to be allowed to ask you what your disability is or your medical condition, right? We're supposed to be not discriminated against upon these things, race, religion, medical disability, any of those things. But yet and still, because of what's going on now, all that's washed out the window, and we're not able as constituents to even enter the building to give a public comment. It's insane. They disrespect the constituents. Maybe it's where we are. Maybe it's because we're in the middle of nowhere or something. But
well, I mean, the public discourse is so toxic right now, especially. I mean, things are especially people are so divided right now, and so it's reflected in the way people talk to each other. Maybe it's just me. I like my personality. The best way to disarm them is to remain completely calm and actually be overly polite, because they're not expecting it. What they want is for you to go crazy. What they want is for you to start shouting and being rude and getting down right in the gutter with them. And I've been more effective in those situations, like at public meetings, where I just stay completely cool as a cucumber. I use my big girl SAT words. So, because they're not expecting it. You know, there's mom comes in, you know, they're not expecting someone to be articulate. I plan out, I have, I don't speak off, I can speak off the cuff, but I mean, I have a kind of a plan of what I'm going to say, not a script. I don't read, but I, you know, there's a direction to my comments. So, you know, be prepared, be perfectly calm. Do not let them rattle you. They get disarmed by that. It doesn't work in every situation, but it's really the best strategy. And you have to take the high ground. You have to. because otherwise they will. Then everybody shuts down, and even people on your side or people who might be listening, who maybe they're not up on the podium, but they're in the audience. You're going to win people over to your side if you try to stay rational, stay calm, and make your point clearly. Sometimes you're not going to convince the people up, the decision makers up on the dais, right? They're going to, they're going to do what they're going to do, but you will get your community behind you. You'll get someone tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, I really like what you said. Your point was spot on. And those are the people you need. There's strength in numbers. That's just, for me, that's been most effective. Yelling at them or calling them names. I mean, people go back and forth. I see it. And, they'll call out, like a legislator, and they'll call him a name, and then they'll go back and forth. It doesn't really get anywhere. It just makes enemies.
I agree with that.
So there's 4 people here. I heard somebody come in, but I can't see anybody. Oh, there it just fell off. I don't know what happened. Maybe Deanna's having issues again.
It's probably the CIA.
They're so important.
Yeah, it is. I found her this time.
They're watching you, Travis.
I know.
There's
she's
my-
not.
Hey,
I was
I
like,
told my
I hope she's
friend-
not. I hope she's not mad at us.
oh hell no, girl. I ain't mad at you. No. It's this county of dipshits. Hi, Seth. You better be watching. I sent him the link. And anyway, he's like, we need to get organized at a different level. National Guard in our region is not something to take lightly. Yeah, remember when I went and did a video around the National Guard around the zoo and all their new shit they had? And anyway, no, you know what's frustrating on day 16 is
You guys can use my name, actually.
well, I don't know what your name is. What is it?
Travis does. That's
Her
okay.
name's Joy.
Wait, drum roll. Hang on.
Joy. Like
Joy.
to the world.
I love that. That was great.
I didn't mean to.
I didn't hear it. What is your name?
Joy.
It's so loud. Joy's
Her
your
name
name.
is Joy. Joy. Her name is Joy.
Oh, Joy. That's right. I knew that. Okay. Joy. So if we're going to fix things constitutionally, okay, let's say that the Constitution tells us anybody elected has to take an oath. When they take that oath, it gives them a piece of paper. They file it at the county, they file it at the state, and they file it at the library. They file it in 3 places. County records, I'm sorry, not library, right? Now, this is new to me. I didn't know this, okay? But I've learned this is how it's supposed to be. This is our method of checking to make sure we don't have infiltrating assholes in our system. Why? Because that's what they do. And we weren't paying attention. I wasn't paying attention. And so Linda, our biggest constitutional fighter in Humboldt County for 16 years, who's been dropping notices and affidavits, and they just ignore her. She has discovered there's over 40 names on the payroll of Humboldt County. They do not have a fucking oath or bond of office. Do you know what that means? They weren't elected, but yet they have their hands in our fucking money. And at the same time, they're abusing our kids. So yeah, my patience is gone for the people who put up with this shit, because it doesn't take much to read the Constitution, to follow affidavit mamas, to follow people that are doing effective work and see. This is our job. We have a job to do, and it's to go to your your county
County
city
seat.
hall or your county courthouse. No, you have to go to your courthouse. and ask to see the oaths of office, the bonds. Sorry to yell, Rex. You know, it's kind of hard living in communism for 2 years. Maybe you could have a little grace for me, okay? I'm a little worked up, you know. I know it's hard for people to understand what it's like to live in this shit, but this is actually just kind of part of trying to relay my frustration with people's ignorance and laziness and, you know, continued ignorance to not know what our remedies are, you know, to just sit around and be entertained day after day after day and wonder, how are we going to get out of this? Oh, gee, I don't know. You know, I don't know. How are we going to get out of it? I think if the people don't care to check the remedies that we have, it's looking pretty grim to me.
Well,
Because we've been saying these people are frauds and they're embezzling money for months, right, Sarah? We've been telling people this for months. They don't care. They don't believe they have rights. They don't believe this is possible because they don't read.
Well, the people and the people that are elected aren't going to tell you that information. They're going to volunteer that information. They're under a contract, under all these CARES Act and PAR Act and all that.
By
getting all this money, and they're under a contract because in order to receive the money, right, they have to say every 6 months we're going to show proof of this, this, and this. And so that's what it is right now. That money's more important. They're never listening to us. That's my opinion. And nothing's going to change while they're getting that. I mean,
well, I mean, the question of how do you get people to care about that? I mean, it's $1 million question, right?
right.
How many times have I been at a public meeting, right? How many times have I heard anyone just stand there, all right, in front of these, you know, like we have like at the town level, we have selectmen, like we have a board of selectmen. It's kind of like our city council because they're smaller towns or whatever. But I have never heard anybody get up and say to them when they're debating something, or we know that there's something kind of shady going on and it's up for discussion and there's some debate about it. I've never heard anyone from the opposition party or person like a public a citizen at large speak and say to them right in front of them in a meeting, you are violating your oath of office. I've never heard anybody say that. Okay. And that would be a start. I mean, just to have people actually say it and confront these people and say, you know, we have a governor who, when he was elected, he got on TV, he took his oath of office on television. No one ever talks about that. I was talking to D-Dog the other night on the panel, and Connecticut doesn't even have sheriffs. Okay, so we have a whole different situation going on. He's talking about constitutional sheriffs. We don't have any kind of sheriffs. They got rid of them. So we have, you know, our work, you know, to like fix some of these problems. We have kind of I don't want to say it is kind of a unique situation because I think there's only 2 states that don't have sheriffs. So how do you bring this to people's attention? It's a little bit trickier proposition, right? So we have to find ways, and it starts by going and being visible at meetings. And, you know, I don't have the solution, Deanna, because I live in a communist state as well.
I know you do.
And we have, when my governor lifted restrictions for COVID, right, like the mask mandate and stuff, we had businesses who said, well, we don't care that the governor lifted all that. We're going to impose it. And they doubled down on it. What do you do with a person? What do you do with a person like that? You know what I mean?
You slap notices and affidavits and then a claim, like D-Dog's teaching us.
And
that's what yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was saying we've tried different things too. Like we have sites and we have groups that just boycott that call these businesses out, and they boycott them, and you know, and there's different approaches you can take to it. I don't know, you know, and I'm not trying to be like, and I'm really not trying to argue, but I'm just, some of these people, like some of these businesses, if we came in there and slapped him with an affidavit, I don't know what would happen.
Well, then you can file a claim. That it's like this whole process, because earlier when Tia Leah, or I forgot her name, but you guys were talking about lawyers, and I get that sometimes, you know, we need the ACLJ and we need some powerhouse lawyers and some things, but they're counting on us to do the county level work. You know, the affidavits went out to every legislator last week. Every legislator, congressperson, and representative got an affidavit last week. And they're not going to do that. There's 3,100 counties across America, at least. This is our job. It's not hard to go down to the courthouse and look and see, because the problem, and then what Mike had on last night, I've been waiting for that for a long time. I can't wait to go after the media here. They're so responsible for every injured child or death or any, because they've suppressed that information. Like that, if you guys watched Liberty yesterday, that guy was speaking my language that I love too. You know, I was like, he's talking the same thing. You send a notice, an affidavit, and then you send a claim. And what D-Dog is also taught is that what Sarah was saying about the PMA thing is so powerful, because if you have a private membership association and these fraudulent corporate people come after you, you can take lawful measures and go right after them. We are deceived by what we think we have to put up with. We're absolutely deceived into thinking we don't have any remedies, our rights are gone. It's pathetic to me.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, you know,
I have a
and,
clarifying question though. What happens after a claim, right? So if we do a notice and then an affidavit and then you serve them a claim, then what happens after that? What is
then
the
they
next
get a claim? It's claim/warrant.
and
So
then they get arrested?
You
So
have to have a
go to the
lawful sheriff to come and deal with it, which we do not have.
So that's the problem then.
Right. That's our problem. We have a board of supervisors that's shut down for 2 years, and they've been making up their own rules. Travis wanted to say something. Go ahead, Travis. It is your show.
No, I was just shaking my head over here. T-Nick wanted to know how to get up here. How does a girl get in here? T-Nick's a guy.
Oh, on your panel? I can step out.
No.
Everybody here is much more knowledgeable than me.
Shut up. Don't make me slap you. Well, you know what? We also, so the other thing I learned is from my friend Linda, few months back, Sarah, remember when we first met in the summer of last year at the hospital? I talked to Sarah and I was like, yeah, okay, you know, stand up humble, and this, we're doing this and that. And then at some point it was like, it's the grand jury, right? And I was like, hard pushing, we are going for a grand jury. Oh, we need 25 people eligible that have corrected status. Is Mike texting you? Naughty text? Okay.
Yeah, I think he's done
Not naughty. I mean funny. Funny.
Sometimes.
We need 25 people on day 16 to have a grand jury. And I just recently learned that Humboldt County has civil grand juries. Okay. And that's like their little smoke screen for us, so that when we hear grand jury, which means we hold these people accountable, we hold the people that have the oaths and the bonds accountable. Humboldt County hasn't had a grand jury since the 50s. You have to have 25 people. We had 11. Guess how many we have now, less than 6 months later? 40. 40. We have enough for a grand jury, and we have began our trainings and proceedings. Not proceedings, that's the wrong term, but we've gotten attention. We've gotten noticed. It's happening here. These assholes won't get away with it. They won't. They're not going to. But in people, I've gotten mocked in my face for going after this. by a big group here, big group here that likes to gather, and they have great parties and they do great things like that. And they were actually paramount in us getting so many to correct our status in one day at one of their events. 19 of us did it in one day, myself included. So I corrected my status so I could be on the grand jury and hold these people accountable. And that's happening all over the country. That is the remedy. So, and I don't have energy to argue with people about what is real lawful for businesses, what is our real remedies for constitutional. Like, there's no time. It's called read a book. Read a little bit, you guys. Don't watch, read, because everything is depending on it. And we're so mind warped. Everything is jumbled up,
Yeah.
I was all mad.
Yeah.
I'm like, I know we got rights. I know we got rights, don't we? Right?
Well, it's just most people don't want to recognize what we're losing. It's not come to their house yet, so they don't want to get into the deal. People are too afraid to shake the boat, and they don't realize that they're in the boat. We're gonna have to shake it and get it freed up, or we're gonna go under with it. The more we let this go on, the harder it is to correct. And I'm really anxious to see some of this stuff work. I really am.
Right,
Well,
Jason, right?
I was saying to someone today, we we're a group of us got together and we were talking about this, and we know that we have some really horrible governance. We know that our elected leaders, at least where I live, I'm in a similar situation with you. They're horrible, and I mean they've doubled down on the horribleness. Okay, but some of the people fighting us the hardest, and trying to like make reforms here, are our friends and neighbors. That's the problem. That's and you have to be like the person who, I heard someone describe it, who's not afraid to be like uninvited from the barbecue. Basically, you make enemies when you do this kind of thing, and it's been like that for a long time. I actually got out of being involved local. I was involved a lot with local politics, and just felt so abused and so just horrified by it, that I just backed away. Like, I wouldn't even get to the point where I just didn't even read. This is before COVID, but I mean, I just didn't even read the newspaper anymore. I didn't care. I just put my energy into my business, minding my own business. My circle of friends got very small because I just couldn't take it anymore, because the people were just so horrible. And not necessarily people in office, people who are just very wedded to the narrative, and they don't, people who get involved locally and who care about these issues, people like I wouldn't be on this panel if I didn't care about these issues, right? And you feel like people should appreciate it, right? Like they should understand that you're fighting for their rights, and instead they hate you for it. They hate you for it. They abuse you for it. I mean, it's so ironic. It's kind of like what we were talking about, Sarah, earlier with the kids. Like they don't see what you're trying to do, and I don't have the solution. When you said like read a book, I've read plenty of books. I've gotten, like,
well,
when
you're
I go
good,
to
though. You're not the problem, honey.
No, well, I'm just saying, but so I go to like I go to a meeting, and it's like I just want to shake people and say, guys, I know about this stuff. Like I've studied, like I understand. And if when they want to push an agenda, you gotta. The battle is you gotta win, like, a lot of hearts and minds, and it's not an easy situation. We've started. I missed the big New Year's Eve show, the big Travis Trainwreck New Year's Eve extravaganza this year, because I was at a New Year's Eve party, and the host, it was a real self-selected group, but they were like-minded people, and we talked about meeting at least once a month, just our small little group of people to like give each other support. What? I can't see that. I'm blind.
No, I'm showing Sarah. I'm putting on her awesome. Sorry, I'm Dice 16. You weren't supposed to be looking at me. I'm just showing off this awesome salve I'm putting on my leg. Because, sorry.
I have old eyes. I can't see. I don't have my reading glasses.
It was for Sarah. I didn't know you were watching too. I thought you were just.
No,
talking.
I'm just trying to make you feel better because like with the affidavit, Sarah, you asked like what happens when you do the affidavit. Like, it's very frustrating because where I am, the mentality is such that they probably we'd have a very hard time going that route just because of the mentality and how entrenched it is. And it wouldn't be necessarily the people in power fighting us. It would be the people we're trying to help. I mean, that's kind of where it's at. All is not lost. If you fix California, if you can fix California, maybe you can fly out to Connecticut and fix it here because
hey, there are
I'm
two
running out of
counties.
ideas.
There are two counties. Look them up. One of them's called California City in California, and the other one's called Oroville. And they are both constitutionally run counties as of the last 60 days.
Yes.
It is happening here. It is the remedy. It's the only remedy, unless people want to pay lawyers they're literally just playing in the corporate sandbox with them. We actually are outside of them and have all the power, and we shouldn't have to get down in their level, in their sandbox. We should just be outside thumping the shit out of them from the outside. Get the frick out of our county with your dirty hands in our money. Like, it's that serious. We're talking millions. They've turned the county over to communist organizations here called Cooperation Humboldt. Their aim is to dismantle capitalism. That's right in your face. That's not a...
No, I know. Well, if somebody on this show would give me a wrench, I could drop a link to the article from the Epic Times. Somebody, like maybe the owner of this show. This owner of this show, I'm just
Ms. Blue Moon is the head of mod.
He's not listening. He's trying to play dumb.
Because he's not the mod. Ms. Blue Moon is the head mod.
He's playing dumb. But I know what you mean about them selling out. I mean, the Epic Times did an article on Connecticut, and they said every elected official we have, every representative, is owned by the CCP. It's pretty damn scary. So when you try to do anything, you are up against it. Connecticut also has, is the home to some big hedge funds. Our senators are on very powerful committees. You don't think there's a connection there? Where did Bernie Madoff live? Bernie Madoff lived in Connecticut. Okay, the corruption runs deep. And
I agree with you. It runs big and deep and higher than anybody that.
Aren't there more of us than them, though? Like quite a bit more.
But
aren't we Americans? What the frick?
We're talking more than the American. Have you ever heard of the elitists? Like this whole thing is like big spiritual thing. It's big. I've been studying into this for a long time.
There are signs of hope. We have somebody running. I want to try to get him on your show, Travis. But we have somebody who's running grassroots against a powerful senator. He's trying to, and he's doing exactly what you're talking about, Deanna. He's leading the charge. I don't know. He's got I don't know.
What's his name? Oh, I bet I know his name. Josh. Hockley or is he affidavit? I know who he is. A black guy or no? He's not black, is he?
No,
yeah, he's black.
I'll send you. Oh, I don't have your email, but I could probably get it from Travis. I'll send you his YouTube channel, but he's doing exactly what you're talking about. So it is happening. He's kind of leading the charge. So so he's someone I'm, making contact with and going to help. So so I hear you. It's my frustration really right now is that you're fighting your fellow
Sarah.
peeps. Oh, we have another person on here.
Sarah, look at me waving at her. Hello,
you
Faith.
can.
You again? Is it you again?
You showed everybody your cool haircut you gave yourself.
Let's see how you did your hair again.
She gave herself half short bangs.
No, Mom, not Tycho. Faith. No, Mom. Disgusting.
That nice hair like her mom.
She's beautiful.
Sassy
You
like
want to
that.
sing for us, Miss Karaoke Girl? You want to sing a song? No? Okay.
Say, I gotta go to bed because I have school tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah, good night. Love you. Mm.
Oh yeah, it's still early for I mean this is way past my bedtime on the East Coast. You guys,
It's
it's
past
still
her
early
bedtime
for
too,
you.
but
Yeah.
her bus doesn't come until like 8:30. So if we're technical and getting good sleep,
This damn red pill that we take.
sleep, but in like 30 minutes. But
Oh, she's cute.
yeah, she's sassy. I'm thankful to God for that. I think she gets it for me,
She is
but
cute.
it's God
Yeah,
given.
I
Can
know
you
she
just
does.
hear? She goes, "Don't touch me."
She's
I
just
give her
like
a kiss
you.
on her cheek, and she's like, "Don't kiss me."
But you're
like-
affectionate.
She lets people know I am I am affectionate to her. She's
You
my
know what?
favorite.
On day 16, we
Been through a
decided in
lot.
Humboldt County early on, we're going to just kill them with kindness here. And our motto is to make Humboldt kind again. And then with the non-greenie appreciators, it's just, alternative wellness message, health and wellness message it's ours to own. Okay. It's ours to own across this land.
Well,
Thanks, Josh.
I
Sorry,
think,
I keep seeing this guy's comments and he's like complimenting, so I'm just telling him thank you. So
well, the comments are
hard to-
going two ways. They like us. They think we're nice, calm ladies, and they're also
It's really
giving Travis crap because he's being quiet. They're like, you know your place on that panel.
I
Joy's
know.
the
I was
only calm
laughing
one.
at that.
Sarah and I are not calm at all. You never know what is
Hey,
going to happen
Don't
next.
tell me I'm not calm. I'm passionate.
Calm down,
That's-
Sarah.
I'm passionate.
Hey, I know when to be quiet. I'm not a smart man, but I know things.
Yeah,
That
we
makes you
have
smart.
like I said, we have somebody who's kind of taken the lead and been a pit bull and like taken on the whole issue of like judicial misconduct. And he's again, he knows, well, who's going to hold the judiciary? I can't talk tonight. The judiciary responsible. And so he's doing the kind of things that you're talking about, Deanna, and that you and
Yeah.
D-Dog are doing. So my piece, I see like my piece of it is more like winning over hearts and minds and like getting like friends and neighbors to see the light. That's kind of what I'm better at. So that's why I focus on doing things the way I do. I'm more effective that way. You know what I mean? I'm more effective at going to a meeting, giving a speech. People will hear me talk and they'll say, oh, that lady kind of makes sense. And then you get more volunteers, you get more people on board. That's just my piece of it. And we've got other pit bulls doing the other stuff,
Well, and I found that true. If I'm more effective to somebody that doesn't agree with me, if I'll just keep an even conversation with them, ask the right questions, let them answer, and instead of coming at them and telling them, spending an hour of telling them why they're wrong, explaining to them why I think I'm right. And then
well, sometimes they need to hear that too. So
Right.
it's it depends who you're dealing with.
You can tell how the conversation is going to go whenever it's. Hang on, I'll blow it up.
You see it? Can you read it?
No, it's backwards.
Oh, it's backwards.
Oh, dang it.
It's
Okay.
backwards.
It's
Just
just
flip it
about the
around.
law.
Just flip it around.
Flip it around. I
Yeah,
can't.
there you go.
Oh yeah.
How can I flip it
Oh
around?
no, I can't see it. No.
Here, flip it over. Can you see through the other side of
I'm
it?
technologically
No.
challenged. So.
No, it's just about the law. It's the definition of law. It's the supreme power of the state. The will of the supreme power is expressed A, by the Constitution, B, by statutes, the common law of England. Your common law is our law. It's our
The
Constitution.
problem is, you know, you're dealing with people who are like 100 steps behind. Okay, you're dealing with people who really think like the governor can just, you know, mandate is, you know what I mean? Like,
I do know what you mean. I've been living
yeah,
with
you
it
know what
for
I mean?
2
Like,
years.
it's like it's so hard to get people to catch up. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're talking about something like they can't even comprehend. It's just so far beyond like what people can comprehend. It's like we need some like I feel like we need baby steps in between. You know, it's too much for them. They can't. It does not compute. Everybody's frozen out.
Yeah, I'm here now. Deanna
I
just
can
froze
hear
up.
you. I think
Yeah,
Deanna
yeah.
froze.
Deanna froze up. Her signal went to 0.
Oh yeah. She blew a chip.
She's had so much trouble with her internet lately. It's crazy.
Well, it's probably getting past your bedtime, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I'm gonna get up and be productive tomorrow. I got a lot to do.
Well, I hope we didn't bore your audience tonight.
I don't think so. I think it was a great conversation. We covered a lot of ground, and we'll do more of these because it's things we can fix.
Well, hopefully we'll hear something from SCOTUS tomorrow, and if they do, and if you want me to comment, and we can chat about it, unless you've got other guests lined up. I know you are now in like the upper echelon of like YouTube stars, so you're probably too big to have me on, but
No, I'm just some dumb guy that decided to start a YouTube channel and want to help people. That's all I want. However we do it is. Yep, she just sent me a message, said her internet's gone. Sorry. That's okay, Deanna.
well,
Hey,
Second
y'all.
Second
have a-
Musketeer wants us to come on more often, so we will.
Okay, yeah, maybe they'll join us.
We'll give the people what they want,
That's right.
you know.
I
And-
enjoy it. And even though you guys get so talking so much that I don't get a word in edgewise, I learn a lot.
That's okay. We'll let you talk more next time. We promise.
I really don't mind at all. I enjoy it.
Don't you have power over the mute button, Travis?
Yep. You notice I hardly ever use it.
But you could. I'm just letting you know. Anyway,
I've only
you
seen
did
him do it once. I only saw him throw somebody off the show one time. That was the only
Really?
time.
Well, that's
Only
good.
one.
That's good that you haven't had to. Unless you tolerate too much, though. Don't tolerate too much. That's just my advice for the night.
I hear
But
that a
y'all,
lot.
I have to go because I really do got to go put Faith to bed. Because you know what?
Yeah,
If
I got to
don't,
go to sleep too.
she is not going to go to bed. She's up there talking about watching a show right now, and I'm like, so I got to go handle things as a mom. So thank you for. It was wonderful talking to everybody. And
Good
we'll
night.
see
I
you
hope
again.
we'll do it again. And
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can make this a regular thing. We'll pick some topics and we'll get in and we'll dig into it. Actually,
It's
when I first
really a
started
blessing, Joy.
when
it was great talking to you.
When I first started this, I was actually talking to some people. And we were going to group together and pick certain areas of something to dissect and try to figure out. And
Are you trying to give us homework, Travis?
trying to what? No, I'm just saying
Give
that
us homework.
you
We'll
guys
link
do
up, Joy. You're
good
brilliant.
research.
I'm serious. I could learn a lot from you. But
You
I'm
can
gonna
get,
head out, you guys.
Okay, you can
What
get
was
my
that?
email and my number from Travis.
Most definitely, I will do. Okay. Have a good evening.
Night night.
Good night.
Bye, Travis.
Bye. But yeah, these conversations are the best to me because we're showing productivity in a lot of ways, and you guys are talking about stuff that's way beyond my comprehension level, but I'm learning, and the more stuff, the more I have to. The more I have to use my brain, the better it's going to get. And at my age, that can't hurt anything.
Your age? What about my age? Anyway, we won't discuss that. That's the public doesn't need to know about my age. But we'll do it again, and we'll keep an eye on the news. You have my number if you want to talk about what goes on. I think it's going to be an interesting news week with this SCOTUS thing. So we'll chat again if your audience,
Well, I think you're
useful.
right. I think they'll actually make a decision tomorrow just based on what media coverage I've watched of it. One of the MSMs was saying that they thought they were going to flip to the conservatives. I don't think that's going to happen, just by some of the things they were talking about and asking. I pray that they don't, but it's still possible. And this could be a huge thing depending on how it goes, because I think if they rule against us on this, I think the pressure is going to be atrocious.
Well, and we'll talk about that, because I'm hoping for the best. But if they depending how it goes, it's going to have huge ramifications. So we'll chat, and if it doesn't go our way, we'll all be here to support each other and talk about what happens next. So, because we're going to have to deal with it either way. It's out of our hands at this point. And
well, even if we get a win for this one, they're not going to stop. They're going to keep pushing.
It's just a temporary win anyway, because the issue of, like we said, the merits, that discussion still to be had. So I think what it will do, we need some kind of decision, because we're at an impasse with the COVID stuff, especially in blue states. We can't get back to work. We can't our economy, like the economy in my state is doing so poorly. We have to have some kind of even a glimmer of clarity on this, because otherwise we can't sustain this kind of limbo much longer.
No, I agree.
Yeah. Well, it was good to see you again, Travis.
Yes. Thank you for coming in. I was kind of caught with my pants down again, because I thought my daughter was going to come in and talk about her trip back home. She was flaming mad when she got to Philadelphia.
Well, I'm glad I could come in pinch hit.
I'm glad everybody showed up. It was a really great night. We'll get some more information going. That's what we can do. So if you think of something I need to look at, just
if anything comes up tomorrow, I'll shoot you a text. Okay.
Okay, that'd be great.
All right. Thanks for all the chats tonight.
Yep. Thank you guys for coming to chat. I'll say the same thing I say every night. Love your neighbor, know your neighbor.
For dealing with all the trolls.
Right. You want to pray us out tonight?
Me?
Sure.
Oh, I don't know if I'm. You caught me off guard. I don't usually do that.
I don't either. I've had to learn.
I'll keep it really simple. I want to pray for everyone's safety, their well-being, and their peace of mind this week, regardless of what happens in the news, regardless of what happens in their communities. And I love you all. I love you, Travis. And let's just support one another, and thank God for all the blessings we have, despite all the trying times. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Like I said, we'll chat tomorrow, and
I'll keep an eye on the news.
Okay, and I will as well. So.
All right.
All right, guys.
Night.
Good night. Know your neighbor, love your neighbor, help your neighbor. That's how we help. Good night, everybody.
You going to bed this early?
Na 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 na. made of. Tomorrow's fine for shaking the tables. Tonight, I'm aiming my lasers. You wanna try fruits of my labor? I heard this like completely misbehaving. So sweet to taste, nothing but flavor. Yeah, I enjoy the fruits of my labor. Na 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 na, na 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 na, na 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 na, na 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 na. Wanna try to share my plate? Don't even try. I'll be late. Have you tried the wine being spilled on my table? Try to smile all the fruits of my labor. You wanna try the fruits of my labor? I heard this by completely misbehaving. So sweet to taste, nothing but flavor. Yeah, I enjoy the fruits of my labor. Na 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 na, na 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 na, na 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 na, na 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 na. You wanna try the fruits of my labor? I heard the fact completely misbehaving. So sweet to taste, nothing but flavor. Yeah, I enjoy the fruits of my labor. You wanna try the fruits of my labor? I heard this fact completely misbehaving. So sweet to taste, nothing but flavor. Yeah, I enjoy the fruits of my labor. Na 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 na, na 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 na, na 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 na, na